was undercover. He went in and made tapes against very dangerous people. His life, as he knew it, and his family's was over. We had to relocate him. He was never going to have another safe day in his life. But importantly, this was a negotiated deal. You do this for us, we do this for you. And it was written in a contract, and it was disclosed to the jury so they could make of it what they chose to make of it. And if you think about it, Dave, let's say, we have a different situation than what we got in Russiagate. Let's say you had somebody who was running for president who really was a clandestine agent of Russia. If you said to somebody, if you can corroborate that to me, that would be very valuable to the United States. And then the guy went out and actually brought you back, smoking gun, tape recorded evidence that showed the guy was a clandestine agent of the Kremlin. That would be worth a lot more than $1 million to the United States. But I think the relevance here is that they had to make the offer because they knew the information wasn't corroborated, and yet they used it anyway.
So now we've had the acquittal number 2. This is it, do you think, for the special counsel Durham as far as trials go?
Yeah, I think that there's no reason to think that there would be any other trials. And the reason I say that, there are multiple reasons for it. One is the behavior that he's looking at here goes back like 2015, 16, 17. Most federal crimes have a 5-year statute of limitations. So we're really like up against the end at this point. He's apparently let his grand jury lapse. So unless he's brought any other charges that we don't know about and he's got them under seal, which there's no reason to believe he has, we're not going to see any more. So all the signs are that he's done with prosecutions, and what he's got left to do is to complete his final report.
Do you think people are too weary to care anymore?
I think when people's day-to-day is, high prices, financial anxiety, and crime, it's a lot to ask them to think about the importance of things that happened 5, 6, 7 years ago, even if they are very important.
So this still matters, in your view, very much?
Yeah, yes, it does, because something happens and then people complain. But the reason that the things continue to happen is because we're not paying any attention to the need to reform. It's one thing to complain about the things that happen, but when the same kinds of abusive things happen again and again and again, and yet we don't change the system, we don't reform it, we don't change the way that we conduct oversight, we don't reconsider what its budgetary authority is and its legal authority is, then how does anything ever improve?
Andy McCarthy, former federal prosecutor, current Fox News contributor. Great to talk to you. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.
This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1 and NewstalkSTL.com.
Let's see, if something costs less, but people are happier with it, that sounds like something to look into, and that's MediShare. Maybe you've heard switching to MediShare to pay for healthcare can save the typical family $500 a month, and that's huge, but it's also true that people are way more satisfied after making the switch, too. The customer satisfaction rate for MediShare is double that of the typical health insurance plan. Double. MediShare works. It's been around for more than a quarter century, and members have shared more than $3 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth and a huge nationwide PPO network. So yeah, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care. So if you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan you're happy with, you can call right now and get a price within 2 minutes. A very, very smart use of 2 minutes. Here's the number you need. 844-94-BIBLE. That's 844-94-BIBLE. 844-94-BIBLE.
Paid for by Christian Care Ministry.
We tried Dynovite nutritional supplement, and after a couple of weeks, we noticed a big difference. Our little Gizmo's coat was shinier, and there was a lot less scratching and shedding.
My dog smelled and scratched constantly. We bathed and sprayed her, took her to the vet, but no results. Now, a little Dynovite in her food helps Bella keep her beautiful coat with no scratching or smell.
Happier, healthier with every bite. Over 1 million pets helped with Dynovite. At Simply Safe Home Security, your safety is the only thing that matters. That's why you get live 24/7 professional monitoring for less than $1 a day, because every home deserves to be protected. Right now, get 40% off the whole home security system named the best of 2022 by U.S. News & World Report. Visit simplysafe.com/holiday to save big today. Advanced home security, 24/7 professional monitoring for less than $1 a day. There's no safe like Simply Safe.
Columbo and Katie.
On Thursday, we'll get the latest news from the nation's capital from White House correspondent Christian Daytalk at 2:20 and talk to JT from Pocket Watching with JT at 3:05.
Weekdays at 2 on NewstalkSTL.
The Range St. Louis West is all about safety. That's why training is a critical part of what we do. No one wants to be in a situation where seconds count, but help is minutes away. But if that day comes, are you ready? No matter what your firearm experience level is, we have courses and instructors that can help. The Range St. Louis West is the area's premier training facility, shooting range, and all things firearms retail facility. Check us out online at therangestl.com or stop by and visit with our professional staff. The Range St. Louis West. Are you ready?
Hi, I'm Dr. Alan Link, owner of the Dental Link. You've heard ads about teeth in a day, but did you know that you will be chewing on plastic, acrylic teeth? Here at the Dental Link, we can give you porcelain crown and bridge teeth utilizing mini dental implants that function much more like real teeth at about half the cost. Plus, mini dental implants are less invasive, less painful, and your recovery time is much shorter. Give us a call at 314-794-6464 or simply visit us today at thedentallink.com.
The Vic Porcelli Show.
Ken and Dr. Tobler, did you see the picture of Kanye with a shirt on, and on the back it said, "White Lives Matter"? He was originally Kanye West, right?
Yep.
Then just Kanye. Now he's just Ye.
Oh, you're kidding me. No,
yeah,
really?
Oh, yeah. Now he's just Ye, Y-E. So soon to just be E.
Vic Porcelli, weekday mornings at 9 on Newstalk STL.
Need to replace your Social Security card? In most states, you can request one online with a My Social Security account. A My Social Security account gives you secure access to your personal earnings history and benefit status. You can also get a proof of income letter, estimate and apply for benefits, and more. Save time. Go online. Open a My Social Security account at ssa.gov/myaccount. Social Security. Securing today and tomorrow.
Produced at U.S. taxpayer expense.
Talk radio made in St. Louis.
Very excited for what you guys are doing for the St. Louis community.
For St. Louis.
Relevant local talk.
Saying what we are thinking.
This is Newstalk STL.
No, you guys are awesome. I love you. And it's a tremendous honor to be on the station.
News, analysis, and opinion.
Thanks for covering the local angle.
Come on, people. This is America.
We better open our eyes.
Really local, really good.
Newstalk STL at 1019, 94.1 and newstalkstl.com.
Easier because everything's ready to go in the app. Just say,
Alexa, play news from Fox.
In Fox News.
It's the latest when you need it on demand from Fox News and Amazon Alexa.
Good morning. It's Thursday, October 20th. I'm Ted Lindner, and this is the Fox News Rundown. Less than 3 weeks ago now till the midterm elections. Early voting has begun. I'm Ted Lindner, and that's the Fox News Rundown.
This is Newstalk STL at 1019, 94.1 and newstalkstl.com. Free speech is alive and well in America.
Sometimes it's hard to know what's real and what isn't.
Right here.
The country is heading in the wrong direction under this president.
We're suffering shortages. America's running out of everything.
Newstalk STL. News, analysis, opinion.
Hi, this is David with House Sold Easy, and I buy houses cash. If you own a house and you want to sell it fast at a fair price, call me at 314-293-3000. I pay cash and close in as little as 3 days. I buy houses in any condition, any price range, and any location in St. Louis. I'm a private real estate investor who buys several houses a month, and I want to buy more. I buy inherited houses, divorce houses, behind in payment houses. I even buy my tenant won't pay me the rent houses. Do you own a house that is trashed and needs thousands of dollars in repairs? Great, because I love buying junk houses. I buy vacant houses, abandoned houses, condemned houses, and foreclosure houses. If you own a house and you want to sell it fast, call me at 314-293-3000. 314-293-3000. That's 314-293-3000. 314-293-3000.
Columbo here for Agers Heating and Air Conditioning. We trust Agers with our home because their number one priority is doing right by the customer. Temperatures are changing outside, and as we transition from warmer temps to cooler ones, if you have any issues keeping your family comfortable, don't wait. Call the great team at Agers so they can address the issue before it gets worse. Because whether it's repairs or replacement, Agers is there with the clarity and attention to detail your home deserves. Contact Agers now at 636-242-6515 or through their website, callagers.com.
If you served honorably in our nation's armed forces and you're looking for a way to continue serving your fellow veterans and your community, then join AMVETS. Each year, AMVETS members volunteer millions of hours at VA healthcare facilities from coast to coast, helping to improve the lives of their fellow veterans through the VA Voluntary Services Program. AMVETS posts and departments also participate in a wide variety of community service projects, ranging from Americanism in our schools to supporting the Special Olympics and Boy Scouts of America. Even if you no longer wear the uniform today, you can still serve through the AMVETS by joining today at amvets.org.
St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
We need change in our country right now.
Live and local.
They clubbed us over the head for 2 years.
Yep. You want corruption? This is how we get corruption.
This is News Talk STL.
Bill O'Reilly here, and I'm warming up. Stand by for the O'Reilly Update Morning Edition. But first, no question there is a concerted effort to intimidate and silence conservative thinkers and replace our God-given individual liberty with big government controls. AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens, is the leading conservative advocacy and benefits organization in America. AMAC gives you access to exclusive benefits and all kinds of great content. Please stand with AMAC at amac.us. That's amac.us. On this Thursday, after hearing my analysis this week, the website Real Clear Politics now predicts Republicans will win the Senate 52-48, and the House will be a red barn come November 8th. Things have changed as the economy worsens and President Biden will not even acknowledge the horror inflation is wreaking on working Americans. The smart money understands that money runs America, not Duncan. Families that cannot pay the bills are tense families. Biden is about as empathetic to them as the Texas Chainsaw Massacre guy. Joe Biden is through in the court of public opinion, as is his party, at least in this voting cycle. Now, the Republicans may find a way to muck it all up, but I don't think so. It's just 3 weeks until the vote. Biden's performance has been so awful, it is impossible to disguise it, and things are not going to change before November 8th. And so America will turn again away from progressive zealots and towards a more traditional governance. This change cannot come fast enough. The Biden administration has done a tremendous amount of damage to this country. Back after this. I am excited about a new streaming platform called VidGo. VidGo gives you the freedom to be entertained at a price you can afford. VidGo has all of my favorite live sports networks. They have a great choice of news. All of that for $59 a month. You deserve the freedom to be entertained at a price you and your family can afford. Please go to vidgo, vidgo.com/Bill to check it out. That is the Morning O'Reilly Update. More analysis later on.
From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
Another chilly start this morning under partly cloudy skies, but mostly sunny as we go through the day, in and out of some clouds, but certainly a warmer day, 69 degrees. A little breeze this afternoon from the southwest at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Overnight lows in the mid-40s, right about where we would be typically this time of year, but the high tomorrow and through the weekend near 80 degrees and dry. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
News, analysis, opinion. Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. Let's get the conversation started, St. Louis. This is Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
We've talked a lot lately about how the Biden administration, how the congressional Democrats, they want to talk about anything other than the actual economic doldrums that they have created through their really lousy policy. Well, among the other distractions, in addition to wanting to talk about abortion a lot, they're starting to talk about gun control. Now, never mind that the U.S. Supreme Court has ruled pretty firmly that the Second Amendment means what it says. That's not stopping Joe Biden from saying if you return a Democratic majority after November, he's going to get his so-called assault weapons ban. In Illinois, Senator Tammy Duckworth up for re-election. This is part of her big platform. She wants gun control. Yeah, it doesn't square with the Second Amendment, doesn't square with the Supreme Court. So why are they making this such a big issue, and what threat is it to our actual freedom? A little bit later on today, right around 8:35, our friends from the American Firearms Association will be with us to give us the update on that and the reality check. Hey, good morning. I'm Mike. Thanks for making News Talk STL part of your day. It may be out of the headlines, but you remember that whole deal where the Department of Justice was asked to sic the FBI on parents who were complaining about what was happening in their local school districts. Yeah, that may be, like I said, out of the headlines, but the Landmark Legal Foundation didn't let it go. They did some actual research, and what they found is pretty disturbing. We had a good conversation on Wednesday's program with Mike O'Neill from Landmark Legal. Here's the update that he was able to give us. You know, the way the headlines move, the stuff that we look at and go, how could we ever allow that to happen in our country, kind of fades away way too fast before we can actually address the issue sometimes.
Yeah.
I think that's the case where we all were rightly angry about parents being targeted by not just teachers' unions, not just school boards, but also apparently by the Department of Justice, who was considering using the FBI to go after parents speaking up at school boards. You remember that whole thing?
Oh, yeah. It faded away, but it's still in the back of my head.
Well, maybe it's going to come back into the forefront. Got Mike O'Neill with us from the Landmark Legal Foundation. You guys didn't forget about this, Mike, and you all did some digging through Freedom of Information Act. What did you look for and what did you find?
Right. Well, it's just a little bit of background, like you were just intimating. Last year, and again, this is, in our media, in our incredibly fast media culture, things fade out of our minds quickly, but we need to be diligent about these things to monitor it. So last year, as you were saying, the National School Boards Association sent a letter to President Biden addressing, remember everybody last year parents were rightfully so, appearing in front of school boards, expressing their First Amendment rights, expressing their frustration with those vaccine mandates, with the mask mandates, with the virtual schooling, the gender ideology, all of those things that parents were very frustrated with where our schools were. Our kids had been kept home, children were depressed, everything was really going sideways, and parents were expressing this in front of these school boards, and they were vehemently expressing it, rightly frustrated. Well, the National School Boards Association couldn't take the heat, and what did? They ran to President Biden and wrote a letter to him. They met with him, and they wrote a letter to him saying that there needed to be federal investigations, federal intervention into these so-called threats. And if you read this letter, it's really funny. You read this letter now, seeing the records that Landmark has procured from the Department of Justice, it really, really shows the fallacy of where they were going. Well, they classified these parents who are attending these board meetings, and expressing their First Amendment rights, they expressed them as threats, as these grave threats, these terrible things that were represented to these threats of violence. They actually used the word domestic terrorism, if you can recall that. So they sent this letter on September 29th of 2021. Just 5 days later, on October 4th, the Department of Justice, specifically Merrick Garland, issued a memorandum to all United States attorneys. Now, United States attorneys are the federal U.S. attorneys that are distributed throughout the country. There's about 90 of them, and they're tasked with enforcing and prosecuting federal laws in their respective jurisdiction. And they also work with the FBI. They work with local law enforcement. Well, this October 4th memorandum directed the U.S. attorneys and the FBI to convene meetings with local law enforcement to address this increased threats of violence and this terrible thing that was facing our country at the time, right? That's how they portrayed it. Well, guess what? Landmark Legal Foundation filed a FOIA request, a Freedom of Information Act request, seeking records relating to those meetings. And what do those records show? Again, these things take a long time. The federal government moves very slowly. But what do these records show? We've obtained about 150 pages so far, and they show in meeting after meeting, these meetings that were conveyed right in October of 2021, right after this directive from the Attorney General came down. Over and over again, you see no threats. You see local law enforcement saying, there's nothing here. There's nothing to report. So what did we see? We saw a mobilization of the Department of Justice. We saw a mobilization of the FBI. We saw convened meetings with literally dozens and dozens of law enforcement to address a non-existent threat. There was nothing there. And we all knew this. We all knew that these folks, these parents who were there, who were expressing their frustration, were rightly outraged. And yet you saw the mobilization of all of these federal resources that should be going somewhere else, right? They should be investigating drug interdiction. They should be investigating bombings at pregnancy centers, attacks at pregnancy centers. But what is the federal government doing? They are wasting their time trying to investigate parents, a non-existent threat. Now, I'll be clear. Let's be clear that if you look at the production, and again, there's about 150 pages so far, you do see, to their credit, you do see a little bit of pushback from some of these U.S. attorneys that are saying, really, is there really a role for the federal government here? But the bottom line is this. You saw the mobilization, the weaponization of the Department of Justice, the FBI, to address a non-existent threat.
Good morning, Mike. Gabe Pfeiffer here. Now, among the 93, I think you said U.S. attorney offices who returned back, you got documents for. There was one exception, I guess, who out in Portland, Oregon. But even then, it was minor, wasn't it?
Right. There was actually, and I want to put a little proviso on that. There's actually two other instances. There's one in the Middle District of Tennessee, and there was one somewhere else that I can't occur. But again, everything local. This was a huge local issue. Local police could be tasked with handling this. There was absolutely no threat. There was no role for the federal government to play. So you see you're talking dozens and dozens of meetings held, and you're talking a few isolated examples where an individual was incensed, and then the issue was addressed. So really this is a tempest in a teapot. But what the bigger issue is here, the Department of Justice, a radical leftist interest group, the National School Boards Association, had the ear of the President of the United States, asked the President of the United States to jump. He ordered the Attorney General and the full resources of the Department of Justice. When you look at our records, I encourage your listeners to go on our website, landmarklegal.org, and see the production. And you can see these meetings with how many law enforcement officials were there. We're talking local, state, federal. We're talking law enforcement that you wouldn't even have heard of. You're talking investigation agency from the Environmental Protection Agencies in some of these meetings. It's ridiculous. And the attention that's been drawn to this by these folks is incredibly disproportionate to the isolated instance of these things happening. So again, what you're seeing here is weaponization of the Department of Justice at the behest of a radical special interest group who is, and I mean, let's be clear about what we're talking about here. The effort here really is the National School Boards Association and these school officials couldn't take the heat because parents were rightly incensed. They felt that they felt uncomfortable or whatever, the left wants to have these safe spaces where they don't even want to feel uncomfortable. They felt uncomfortable because parents were holding them to account, and they ran to the federal government and asked the federal government to jump, and the federal government jumped, and they deployed hundreds of law enforcement personnel to address this issue, which really there was never an issue, and our records show that.
Mike, we just got just a minute or so left here. A lot of people just look at this and they go, well, politics, here you go. We got the Republicans against the Democrats. I guess this is an election thing. You've referenced the bigger picture, which I really, really appreciate here a couple times. What is the bigger picture? Why is this something that somebody should look at as not just politics?
Right. That's a fantastic question. This is an effort by the left to chill free speech. This is an effort to weaponize law enforcement. I mean, and look at this. We have attacks at pregnancy centers. Is the Department of Justice looking into that? We have the whole Hunter Biden issue. For heaven's sakes, how much evidence needs to be procured about him? And what you're seeing is, by the left, you are seeing the politicization of law enforcement personnel, which is a dangerous road to be on, right? We don't want to see that. We want to see our law enforcement, the FBI, we want to see the Department of Justice be above politics, because it is imperative that they protect the rule of law. And in order to protect the rule of law, you have to be objective. Well, if you have radical special interest groups having access to these organizations and being able to deploy the resources of the federal government on a whim because of some sort of perceived threat, which obviously there is no threat, then it's a dangerous road to be on for our country.
All right, once again, the website, the social media, we've already tagged you all on our Twitter at NewstalkSTL, but where can people go and find all of this directly?
Right, fantastic. Go to landmarklegal.org, and you can see right there on our website. You can click on our section with this FOIA request, and you see our FOIA request, and you can see the DOJ's production. So your listeners and the public can see for themselves the actual records we're talking about here.
We've got your daily news roundup to kick things off starting in just about 4 minutes right here on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
For podcast articles and more, find us on NewstalkSTL.com. Let's get the day started right. This is Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Broadcast that show.
Bongino.
When Donald Trump said he was spied on, the Hunter Biden laptop was real. Two things that are absolutely, positively confirmed as factually accurate. Leslie Stahl was like, sir!
Weekdays at 11 on News Talk STL.
Mike Ferguson here. Retirement should be a time you can relax. No more stress from work. But there's one thing you can't forget about when retiring. That's your money. Do you have enough saved to fund your income for life and keep up with inflation? How will you claim your Social Security benefits? And what about long-term care? The ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel is here to help answer all of these questions. You can hear their latest views on the markets and investing during On the Money, hosted by Stifel financial advisors Bob Stockdale and Eric Robert, every Saturday morning at 9 right here on News Talk STL. They can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create an investment portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call 636-695-2650, 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Kenny Zhu, president of Color Us United.
Race became a profitable industry. That's what happened. Racial victimhood. We all believe in civil rights, but then there are people who actually profit off of racial victimhood in this country. Diversity, equity, and inclusion right now, the new hot thing in companies, is a $10 billion plus industry.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 3:30 on News Talk STL.
Michael's Flooring Outlet is a locally owned and operated family business for more than 28 years, featuring exclusive products, unbeatable prices, and expert installation. You can choose from a wide variety of flooring options, including carpet, hardwood, laminate, ceramic tile, luxury vinyl, natural stone, plus many other options. And you'll gain a peace of mind knowing that your flooring and carpet installation will be done right the first time when you hire the experts at Michael's. You can shop in-store at one of their 3 convenient locations or shop from home online. Check out everything Michael's Flooring has to offer at igotfloored.com.
This is News Talk STL. News, analysis, and opinion from the voices you know and trust. News Talk STL at 101.9, 94.1, and NewstalkSTL.com. Talk lines are open now at 314-912-1019. Having your first cup of coffee? Mike's on his third.
This is Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Crap, Ken, I forgot my cup of coffee.
Uh-oh.
It's in my office.
You gonna be all right?
Darn it. All right. Get through the next 11 minutes here. The news roundup. See if I can make it.
Give it a shot. Come on, be a team player.
Let's go. All right. People just don't understand the struggle.
I know.
I'm not saying I'm a hero. Just saying I'm going to get through this without my coffee. Oh, good God. All right, 5:47. I'm Mike Ferguson. That's Ken Williams. The president, as expected, releases millions of barrels of oil from the National Strategic Reserve again. And by the way, he's handing out some big money to private manufacturers. When I say handing out big money, I mean big tax money to manufacturers to help them make electric vehicle batteries, even though, despite what they're saying, there's just not that much of a market for it at this point. So basically, they're taking the if you build it, they will come mindset of this. And a lot of that money is coming to St. Louis.
And traditionally, what happens when the government steps into capitalism and tries to motivate it?
Yeah, it's not capitalism at that point. It's cronyism.
Right.
That's the problem. So 150 jobs, I'll get to the details here in a few minutes, but 150 jobs or so are going to be paid for by that so-called bipartisan infrastructure bill, that wild spending bill that they got through earlier this year. But it's trying to create a market where there isn't one right now.
Right.
So that's great. 150, 170 people are going to have jobs in St. Louis because of this reckless spending. Okay, great. Glad you got the jobs. It's in the private sector, but we're all paying for it because the government wants to create a standard that the public doesn't want.
At one point, they spent over $800 million for about, I think it was 500 jobs for Solyndra back in the day.
Boy, back in the Obama administration, something like that.
And that's no longer so.
Yeah, so that's we'll get to that update here in a minute and a half or so. All right, it's one thing to be wrong about stuff. It's one thing, let me start with, it's one thing to disagree with me or Ken or Gabe or, Vic or Tony or Katie or Chris or Tim. It's one thing to be in disagreement with us. It's one thing to be wrong, but it's another to have just a completely immoral and dehumanizing worldview. And that's what we're seeing with the fringe left. And when I say the fringe left, those are the stars of the left, of the political left right now, are the fringe.
The leaders, yeah.
Today's evidence, Stacey Abrams, did you see this on MSNBC, Ken? Stacey Abrams says killing a child is really just a way to lessen the impact of inflation.
Yeah.
Good Lord. And if you think I'm overstating what she had to say, I'm just going to play the clip. It's like a minute, 10 seconds long, which is normally longer than what we'll play, but I want you to hear it in context. And to so many on left, like, oh, yeah, it makes sense. I mean, this is all about economy. It's the economy, stupid. Really, we're dehumanizing people and then wonder why the rest of culture is going to hell. And by the way, when culture goes to hell, so does the economy. So it's incredible. There's so much more on the ballot than just R's and D's. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
there really is. Not that the R's are, inherently the moral pure ones. But I'm saying is that the left is dragging this mindset into such a awful cesspool. So we'll talk about that a little bit later on. Also, here's a question. Is there a limit to good taste when it comes to Halloween costumes? No, I mean, some Halloween costumes are supposed to be in bad taste. I mean, that's part of Halloween. But is there a limit to how far you go? eBay pulls down listings for one particular kind of costumes because they were about a serial killer. So I've got the details on that around 650 or so. I'm just curious as to what people think about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there are some freaks out there who are just like Dahmer followers and such.
Yeah,
and I go ahead. You can, as long as you don't go chopping people up.
Right. I mean, if it's
go
just,
for it.
Yeah. So the eBay says, and it was a Jeffrey Dahmer costume. Like, we're not going to.
I was just throwing the name out there.
I know, but that's what it was. Is there, because there's a couple of TV series now about Jeffrey Dahmer. And so when that happens, he becomes kind kind of a celebrity to the people who weren't around when that story was actually unfolding. You remember, you got people 20-some years old in college that just read about Dahmer and, they think of it in terms of the way we would look at like Jack the Ripper back a century ago.
Yeah.
And so eBay says, yeah, no, we're not doing that. You can't honor a serial killer who was not that long ago. So is there a limit to the good taste, or is it, hey, Halloween, all bets are off? I'm curious what people think about that. All right, some of the actual stories we got here. A small-town police chief in Missouri now charged with drug trafficking because 2 people overdosed in his home. We'll get to this at 6:05. This is really a bizarre story, but it is Louisiana, Missouri, which is in Pike County, which is like, 70 miles from downtown St. Louis. So the Pike County Sheriff's Office says that Police Chief William Jones and his girlfriend, Alexis Thone, have been charged after 2 of her brothers overdosed in his home, one of them fatally. And the police chief is now in jail. The girlfriend's also in jail. And I've got the details of the story. So I just read it. I'm like, oh, that's weird. I actually thought about not including it because we had other stuff going on. And the more I read this, the weirder and weirder that it got. But it just, goes to show you that whatever the drug was, they didn't say what the drug was, but whatever it was, it's not just an inner city urban problem.
Yeah, they said there were some folks up in Pike County being interviewed saying, it's just been a matter of time. We kind of knew something was going on over there.
Well, I don't want to stereotype, but you look at the pictures of the 2 and you're like, that guy was a police chief, huh? Really? Yeah, I'm not really surprised to hear that he was in handcuffs. A lot of weirdness in that, but yeah, it just shows where we're at. And we don't know if it was fentanyl, we don't know if it was meth, we don't know if it was crack, we don't know what it was, but it happened, and a police chief and a girlfriend half his age are now in jail. Yeah, really weird, really weird. All right, oil and energy and all of that sort of stuff that's affecting us. Let's see here. President Biden releasing more oil from the strategic reserves. It's his way of trying to keep gas prices from spiking again. Notice I didn't say from lowering, but just from spiking again. Fox News' Jared Halpern actually has the update for us on this particular release of the oil.
Gas prices are lower than a June high, but not falling fast enough, President Biden says.
Families are hurting. You've heard me say it before, but I get it.
The president is releasing 15 million barrels from the U.S. Strategic Petroleum Reserve and could consider more drawdowns this winter if that's needed.
That drawdowns from the reserve so far have played a big role in bringing down oil prices, bringing them down.
President Biden says the decision is not political or tied to next month's midterm elections, noting the 180 million barrels authorized for release since the spring. At the White House, Jared Halpern, Fox News.
Common theme we're seeing, insulting our intelligence. No, this isn't about the elections coming up.
Don't be silly.
Yeah, and the prices, well, they've gone down since June. Okay, yeah, you're trying to flood the market with the strategic petroleum reserves, which is not what it's for, and there's a reason we keep them in reserves. But we've been through all that before. But it absolutely is about the election, and it's just trying to hold off the prices until the market drives them back up because you're cutting off the supply in the marketplace.
And that's the whole reason. He could change his policy, and we'd be fine.
Well, not right away. Not at this point. It would take a while.
No, it would. Yeah, it's like a train. Yeah. But correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't the United States use between 13 and 18 million barrels a day? So if he's taking off 15 million
for this latest one, it's nothing.
Yeah, I mean, what's it going to do?
Nothing. I mean,
it
may hold off. An increase for a few more days or because there are market signals involved in addition to the actual volume. But the market signals are one of the reasons the prices have gone up so much because the president said, we want to end the fossil fuel business. He's told the oil companies, I want to run you out of business.
Yeah.
We're transitioning to, so-called clean energy. So the market signals are a big part of this because the oil companies are like, well, we can't risk billions of dollars in exploration and refining. So we're just going to make do with what we've got while the signals that we're getting. So we're going to go into that a lot more here in the next hour or so. St. Louis-based Israel Chemicals Limited getting $197 million, $97 million in handouts from the federal government. That's part of the so-called bipartisan infrastructure bill. It's designed to spur on manufacturing of electric vehicle batteries. Remember, that bill was $2.8 billion. So $197 million in handouts to the St. Louis company. They're going to hire about 150 people in manufacturing, a couple dozen in engineering and design and stuff like that. And so the money is going to the private sector, but it is all simply government money trying to create a market where there isn't a big enough one yet.
I don't recall ever a situation where the government doing that made any benefit.
Yeah. No, short answer. Yep. Exactly. So we'll get into that in a little more detail as well just ahead. A lot of Americans say they're having issues applying for the thousands of dollars in student debt forgiveness. Fox News' Jillian Turner has the update. Most people are actually getting by okay with this, but when it comes to some particular cases, they're having trouble.
So far, the website is blocking foreign IP addresses, meaning Americans abroad are locked out. The Education Department is now scrambling to produce paper applications. Married folks with joint federal loans also facing a glitch. They've been locked out of the program and have to request a special waiver before applying for student debt cancellation. For millions of other applicants, though, the process is easy. Too easy, according to experts who say the program is ripe for fraud and abuse. Applicants are asked only for their full name, date of birth, social security number, and contact information. Applicants won't have to provide proof of income on which the loan forgiveness is supposed to be based.
Applications close on December 31st. About 12 million people have already applied for the giveaway on the student loans. All right, just ahead here, let's start with this drug thing in Missouri. Blues keep their strong start going. They beat the Kraken in overtime.
Steph's Pizza, legendary St. Louis-style pizza and pasta. Just the name makes your mouth water. Also, for your next get-together, pick up a Steph's Party Platter. And if it's Monday, you get a large pizza for the price of a small. Steph's Pizza in St. Charles County and Chesterfield Valley. Steph's Pizza is always convenient for pickup or delivery. Check them out at stephspizza.com. Tonight's a good night for legendary Steph's Pizza.
Does your current bathroom need to be updated immediately? Introducing One Day Bath and Shower Remodeling, the complete and hassle-free way to get the new bathroom of your dreams in as little as 1 day, and for as little as $199 a month. Yes, the experts at One Day Bath and Shower Remodeling will come to you anywhere in the country and show you all the customized options. Now you can have a brand new bathroom in as little as 1 day. Large or small bathrooms, if you want a new bathtub or shower installed, we can do it in as little as 1 day. And if you call right now, you can save $750 off your remodel. We make it easy by offering you financing as low as $199 per month. Call now to schedule your free in-home consultation.
855-672-1566. 855-672-1566. That's 855-672-1566.
Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green.
This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at
NewstalkSTL.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Greg Clugston in Washington. For the second time in 6 days, a top British government minister has quit, adding to the problems facing Prime Minister Liz Truss. After a few weeks on the job, Truss has been forced to abandon almost all of her policy plans after they upset financial markets. Members of her own Conservative Party are calling for her resignation, but she says she's not a quitter. With gas prices inching higher, President Biden is once again tapping America's oil stockpile.
The Department of Energy will release another 15 million barrels from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, extending our previously announced release through the month of December.
But Katie Tubb with the Conservative Heritage Foundation tells the Salem Radio Network the president's approach is politically motivated and short-sighted.
The SPR release to me is, I think, being understood for exactly what it is. A Band-Aid approach that isn't talking about root problems and solutions to those root problems.
A new report finds a dramatic COVID-related rise in pregnancy-related deaths for U.S. mothers.
The pregnancy-related death rate in the U.S. has been rising for decades, and government data released Wednesday finds an 80% increase, rising from 658 such reported deaths in 2018 to 1,178 last year. The virus was a factor in nearly a quarter of such deaths reported in 2021 and disproportionately affected Black and Hispanic women. Doctors say expectant women who contract the virus face elevated health risks. The percent of preterm and low-weight babies also went up, and more pregnant and postpartum women were reporting signs of depression. I'm Jennifer King.
President Biden is preparing to visit Pittsburgh's Fern Hollow Bridge later today. It's being rebuilt after collapsing early this year. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Relief factor, pain relief that's natural, pain relief that works, and pain relief that attacks the source of the pain. That's the experience of tens of thousands of Americans who are taking Relief Factor right now. See their incredible video endorsements at relieffactor.com and then order your 3-week quick starter pack for just $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. Find out if it can work for you like it works for me by ordering your 3-week quick starter pack today. relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com. Be the next success story.
The Angie's List you know and trust is now Angie, and we're so much more than just a list. We still connect you with top local pros and show you ratings and reviews, but now we also let you compare upfront prices on hundreds of projects and book a service instantly. We can even handle the rest of your project from start to finish. So remember, Angie's List is now Angie, and we're here to get your job done right. Get started at Angie.com. That's ANGI, or download the app today.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Traffic Center.
We're already working with a couple of pretty major accidents this morning. First up, it's 270 northbound at 44. This one's an overturned car. Now, everybody got out. There's just one minor injury, but the 3 right lanes are closed. 2 left are trickling by, so traffic's pretty much at a standstill south of Gravois on northbound 270. The other crash is 70 westbound before 170. Only the right side is trickling through here. You've got about a 15-minute delay back to Florissant Road. They have the 4 left lanes closed. This report sponsored by Dell Technologies, and I'm Joe Sonderman from the News Talk STL Traffic Center.
Dell Technologies provides growing businesses with tools to do incredible things because we believe there's an innovator in all of us. For advice on smart PCs powered by Intel V Pro that's built for business, call a Dell Technologies advisor at 877-ASK-DELL.
From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
Another chilly start this morning under partly cloudy skies, but mostly sunny as we go through the day, in and out of some clouds, but certainly a warmer day, 69 degrees. A little breeze this afternoon from the southwest at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Overnight lows in the mid-40s, right about where we would be typically this time of year, but the high tomorrow and through the weekend near 80 degrees and dry. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by The Dental Link. Call Dr. Alan Link today, 314-794-6464 to schedule your free consultation. Offices in Baldwin and Melville, 314-794-6464.
You know, when you hear us talking about the Wallner home selling team with Berkshire Hathaway, we a lot of times talk about, they sell 15 times more homes than the typical real estate agent. Absolutely true. We talk about their passion for working with your family from their family business, and that's all true. But there's just more to it. Let's get real here for the next minute or so. I'm Mike Ferguson for Rodney and Jen Wallner and the Wallner home selling team. Here's the reality is that when my wife and I decided we think we want to make a real estate purchase and we want to get a getaway home, maybe an Airbnb investment, I didn't even think about calling anybody else. I called 314-810-SOLD. Why? Because this is a huge transaction. This is a huge business decision. This is a huge risk when you're making that kind of purchase. And the interesting thing is when I first called Rodney and Jen, one of the first things they said is, Mike, for what you're looking to do, because we weren't looking to move, we were looking to do this, they said, you need to wait. Now, they could have rushed us through something and got the commission and cashed the check and sent us a card every year at Christmas. That's what a lot of them do. But what they did is they said, here's your situation. Here's what we think you should do. By the way, here's some reference points. And they gave me some stuff to look over as far as comparables and stuff. But within a minute or so, I'm talking to them when I first met them a long time ago. And I went, oh, my goodness, these are the people that I want to do business with because that's what's good for my family. There is a difference when you talk to real estate agents, just like with anybody else. So call 314-810-SOLD. You'll have the same experience that I did. 314-810-SOLD. Find out why Rodney and Jen Wallner give you a level of comfort and confidence that you just can't get in so many other areas. So talk to him. That's my challenge. Call him. 314-810-SOLD.
What happens next?
Democrats' reckless policies have stuck the American people with an inflation crisis, a border crisis, a violent crime crisis, and an energy crisis.
Happens right here.
We're going to get control of inflation.
1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Mike Ferguson.
I am a young, vibrant man.
Gabe Pfeiffer.
I'm Batman. Get up! Get up! Can't you hear the alarm? Get up! Get up!
We can't rebuild our economy and meet this climate crisis.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
One of the darlings of the left, Stacey Abrams, and we're going to talk about this right around 6:20. She is becoming the embodiment of how you can choose between having a humane worldview, or you can have a leftist worldview that dehumanizes people. It's not about, I think our policies are better than their policies. I do. But the more she talks and the more others like her talk, the more we realize that it's about a lot more than money. It's about a lot more than R&D. This truly is a case where we are dividing culturally to the point where some people simply view humans as humans and others view humans as something else. Words of the state, numbers on a spreadsheet. I don't know.
I know we're going to talk about it, but I just want to say going in that she's borderline demonic with her response.
So somebody just went clutched their pearls when you said that. So I know we'll get into more 620, but real quick, tell me why you said that.
Just by her stance on abortion and what it means to her.
Yeah,
it's beyond what normal, I guess, if there is a normal abortion thought would be.
Well, and there are people who make the argument that it's bodily autonomy and all this kind of stuff. And I can talk to people like that. I mean, I really can. I think they're wrong. I don't know that I can assume a good intention in that, but I can talk to somebody because they're trying to use a certain amount of logic. But what's happening right now is you've got people who are trying to backfill an economic argument saying, well, abortion is just another tool for the economy. It's an economic factor. Oh my gosh, I'm not saying that having children isn't something that affects your personal finances, but to reduce it to that, to reduce it to something that's less than human in nature is just grotesque. Just grotesque.
Well, to me, it's pretty much the logical conclusion that you get to when you start down the road of trying to rationalize any sort of abortion stance. You have to tackle with the moral quandaries, or you have to completely ignore them and go whole hog on the other side. And this is what we get.
We forget that so many economic and policy decisions at the base are moral decisions. We forget that. Role of government is a moral debate. It's not just about good policy debate. It in the end is about every time you set a budget for your business, or you set a budget for your household, or you set a budget for the government, you are in some way making a moral document. We forget that. So 620, let's get into that a little more in depth. I'd love to know what people think. All right, it is 6:10 right now. Got Gabe here, got Ken here. I'm Mike Ferguson. All right, real quick, before we get into this bizarre story in rural Missouri where the police chief is now in jail, the girlfriend is in jail, and one of her brothers is dead from an overdose in his house. I'm just going to say that there may be something more to this fentanyl candy scare that's going around. I'm still not buying into it's an imminent danger to everybody, but get this. 12,000 fentanyl pills found packaged in candy wrappers has been found at a TSA checkpoint in Los Angeles. Fox News' Ted Lindner has the story.
Authorities say the fentanyl pills found Wednesday were disguised inside boxes of Sweet Tarts, Skittles, and Whoppers after an individual attempted to go through airport security. The suspect managed to get away but has been identified. The incident once again prompting law enforcement to encourage parents to be cautious this Halloween about the candy their children bring home, as there have been multiple reports across the country of fentanyl manufactured in rainbow colors or disguised in wrappers. Ted Lindner, Fox News.
Okay, so I'm still not buying into the idea that drug dealers are going to get their jollies by killing off trick-or-treaters. That's a very expensive way to do that. But then again, I mean, a lot of drug dealers, especially street level drugs, they're not exactly the most careful or brightest business people in the world. So do due diligence, but I'm not going to say worry about every package of sweet tarts that your kids get in their basket.
I imagine the most, the easiest answer, let's choose Occam's razor here, is that they're trying to disguise it. Because they want somebody who looks at them to say, "Oh, that's just X," and then move on.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same way, back in the day, weed was oregano, and and powder cocaine was flour or sugar or what have you, right? So it's just a means by which you can disguise your drugs to try and make it look like something innocuous. Nobody was saying, "Oh no, they're trying to lace our donuts with with powder cocaine," because they were like, "Hey, it looks like powdered sugar." No, that's not what they were trying to do. They were just trying to get past customs.
I think the biggest problem here is that when they're transporting this looking like candy in the candy packaging, things are going to get mixed up.
Right.
And then that's when we're going to have a lot of fatality.
That's I guess the threat and the worry, because first of all, who thought they were going to get that through an airport? They have dogs and sensors and stuff, right? I mean, the TSA is generally incompetent to start with, so I guess it was a reasonable bet. But really, you thought you were going to get that through?
Well, you mentioned it before. Criminals are dumb.
Yeah, I mean. Don't
it looks like candy, it'll be fine.
I was busted once for getting that I had an iced tea that I couldn't take through, and got a lecture from a TSA guy, and I'm like, really? Okay, whatever.
Oh yeah, my snow globe didn't make it.
Yeah, precisely. So anyway, I guess do due diligence, but I don't think there's enough of a threat for people to panic and worry about all of their kids' candy. Because they're rainbow-colored fentanyl out there. I mean, if something looks off, it's off. It looks weird. It looks tampered with. Throw it away. I mean, it doesn't look like it was sealed in the factory. Throw it away. Don't take a chance.
FYI, if you look at those, I mean, if you see them from a massive distance and they're all just kind of in bags, so like, yeah, okay, I can see how they look like candy. If you see those things close up, they don't look like candy. They don't look like any candy that you've ever had. They look weird.
They look, what pictures I've seen, they look like medicine. They look like prescriptions that are just colored. So
they've pressed into shapes and they're starting to fall apart and there are cracks in them. It's like that's
use common sense.
Maybe not.
Those might not be sweet tarts,
right? Okay, so here's what's really weird. Pike County, Missouri, Louisiana, Missouri, which is 70 miles, depending on where you're listening from. This could be anywhere from 40 to 70 miles from the St. Louis area. Prosecutors now have charged the police chief, 50-year-old William E. Jones, and his 25-year-old girlfriend, Alexis J. Thone, with drug trafficking, among some other things. Alexis's her two brothers overdosed at his house this week. We don't know what drugs were involved. One of the brothers died. The other is in the hospital. And so the press release that was sent out said that the police chief, in this case William Jones, called the non-emergency number in order to report a death late Tuesday night. And so he's now charged with tampering with evidence as well. He's being held on $150,000 cash-only bond, and Alexis Thone being held on a $100,000 cash-only bond as well. That's about all we know. And if you see the pictures, you kind of go, ooh, somebody thought it was a good idea to make that guy police chief.
Oh, boy. I got to see these pictures now.
And also in the report, they showed a list of the things that they removed from the household, and a wide variety of different colored pills. We don't know what they were. They didn't say, but they did say they were opiate-based. Yeah. And then there were a bunch of different colored crack pipes, which was really interesting, too. They had a wide variety of colors.
Yeah, so
I don't know why, but
one of the reasons I wanted to bring that up is because we sometimes stereotype these things as like, those inner city urban cores, man, that's where all the drug stuff happens. No, this is rural Missouri, okay? Yeah. This guy was charged with protecting police, and so even in the most peaceful of communities, you still have responsibility to protect yourself, because you never know. The police chief could be a druggie and a drug dealer.
Jeez.
Well,
for God's sake.
I used to work up that way, and it's a small town.
Yeah.
You know, people talk, and they talk a lot because it's a small town, and word gets around. And then one of the gentlemen being interviewed said yeah, we've been talking about this for a while. We just knew something was going to happen. And so they've obviously known that something was up with the sheriff in particular. But what are you going to say? You live there. I mean, it's kind of tough to call somebody out like that.
Right, especially when they're the police chief.
I mean, his mom comes in for cookies every week at your bakery, right? It's like your son's a crackhead.
Yeah, I mean,
he shouldn't have a gun.
He tips your daughter well at the diner, so
exactly. Small town stuff gets weird that way.
It gets really weird. All right, the number here is 314-912-1019. Just ahead here, Stacey Abrams reaches, I think, I would say a new low, but I think she's gone this low before. But I think it's emblematic of exactly the kind of differences in worldview. For those who say, well, we all want the same thing, we just have different ways of getting there, and that's the difference between Republicans and Democrats. No, I don't think so.
Not anymore.
And I'm going to let you hear from Stacey Abrams in about 4 minutes here on 1019 94.1 News Talk STL. And, of course, love to know what you think as well.
Destination, making cold mind to fight your war. Stop it right now. I have had enough of this. Turn my eyes to your indifference. Stop it right now before you blow us all away. You wanna do that now? Get up, can't you hear the alarm? Get up, this is your cousin car. Get up, what are you waiting for? Get up.
Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. Made in St. Louis for St. Louis. It's News Talk STL.
You want to give me more information?
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Traffic Center.
Crews remain on the scene of a crash northbound on 270 at I-44. That's an overturned vehicle. They've got the 3 right lanes closed. Traffic's at a standstill back to Tesson Ferry. And adding to that is a crash on the ramp from Gravois to northbound 270. 70 westbound at Kings Highway, 2 right lanes closed due to a crash. That's backed up to Shreve. And 70 westbound before 170 delays due to a crash. That one is blocking the 4 right lanes. Traffic's at a standstill back to Florissant Road. I'm Joe Sonderman. This report sponsored by Ride Finders from the News Talk STL Traffic Center.
Ride Finders is a St. Louis area's free carpool and vanpool ride matching program. By sharing the ride to work, you can save thousands of dollars per year and take thousands of cars off the roads. Do the ride thing. Visit ridefinders.org for details.
News Talk STL is proud to have Doug Voss of Safe Money Radio as part of our lineup each week. Doug has been a staple on St. Louis radio for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. You can hear Doug and Safe Money Radio 3 times every weekend on News Talk STL. But in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeMoneyRadio.com. What else do our listeners need to know, Doug?
Simply put, I focus on helping pre-retirees and retirees build, preserve, and protect retirement assets, and I've been helping my clients solve their insurance and financial needs for the past 33 years. I also strive to educate my clients on how to prepare for retirement, minimize the impact of market volatility on their assets, and deal with the challenges of increased longevity. Call me today at 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233.
Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities LLLP, member FINRA and SIPC.
From home improvement to replacement, do-it-yourself electrical projects can be shocking. That's where Grasser Electric can help. They've been lighting up St. Louis for years. From ceiling fans and dimmer switches to repair or replacing your electric. No job is too big or too small for your home or business. Grasser Electric will even install emergency backup generators. So call Grasser Electric today before the sparks start to fly. 636-441-5200 or go to grasserelectric.com.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness 101. Wellness 101 is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense, science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on News Talk STL. For more information, visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
Now, the Onder Prescription with Dr. Bob Onder.
I'm Dr. Bob Onder. Democrats and the left have a knack for politicizing everything. Now it's the weather. After our region's heavy rains and flash floods on July 26th, The Post-Dispatch quoted a WashU professor saying that the floods proved we're not doing enough to fight climate change. Worse, numerous media outlets published stories blaming Florida's Hurricane Ian on fossil fuels. Probably the most ridiculous example of all was when Senator Amy Klobuchar suggested that voting for Democrats may stop hurricanes. We just did something about climate change, she said. That's why we have to win this election, that hurricanes bear down on Florida. We have to win in the midterms. This is all nonsense. If anything, the trend has been toward fewer hurricanes since 1965 than in the previous 50 years. Temperatures have risen and fallen throughout the Earth's history, and this week's weather is not due to your SUV. The so-called party of science needs to face up to reality. I'm Dr. Bob, and that's my prescription.
Find more Dr. Bob Onder at bobondermo.com. No big old corporate lib AM station telling us what to say here. Conservative talk for St. Louis. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com. This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. Talk lines are open now at 314-912-1019.
Hey, Bill O'Reilly here, and you can hear my no-spin commentary right here at 6:45 this evening. Now it's back to Mike Ferguson in the morning on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Can a Halloween costume ever cross the line into, okay, you're supposed to be creepy, but that's in terrible taste? Can that happen?
I think so.
Okay, so 650. Raise that question. I mean, I'm laughing because it's, one of those things where eBay pulls down and won't allow people to sell that costume. And it's pretty gross, but I'll tell you, I'll get your thoughts on what you think. But I do think there's a bigger picture that people tend to make into celebrities just demonic human beings, like serial killers.
Okay, that's where we're going.
That's where we're going with this.
I thought we were talking about the sexy costume.
No.
I'm kidding.
That's
I'm kidding, guys.
no. I was gonna make a joke, and I'm not gonna make that joke. Just on the off chance that my mom or my wife's listening, I'm not gonna make that joke.
There you go.
Look at that. Look at me being pious. All right, it is 6:23. I'm moving on as quickly as I can. I'm Mike Ferguson, who absolutely is offended when beautiful women wear sexy Halloween costumes. I would never support that whatsoever. Okay, There's my statement. Anyway, okay, 6:24. Gabe and Ken are here. I'm Mike here. Moving on real quick. Speaking about somebody who should never be wearing a sexy Halloween costume. Let's mention Stacey Abrams.
Oh, yikes! Yikes!
So she's on MSNBC. So she's getting, an absolute.
That's the proper response.
That is the only response
to that mental image.
And so she's on with MSNBC, and they're talking about obviously her race for governor of Georgia. And while she was served up a softball question, it actually brought up a fair point that we've been talking about, which is why the left keeps wanting to focus on abortion instead of what's actually affecting people in the economy, in the inflation, in the rising prices of, everything at this point. Well, Stacey Abrams, as you're going to hear, wants to conflate, but when she's doing this, and I think this shows where she actually stands, she is in essence reducing humanity out of the equation and dehumanizing not just unborn babies, but dehumanizing all of us in the name of being a cog in the machine of the economy. And if you think I'm overstating it or you think I'm hearing it wrong, let me know at 314-912-1019. But here's just a little clip of that exchange on MSNBC.
While abortion is an issue, it nowhere reaches the level of interest of voters in terms of the cost of gas, food, bread, milk, things like that. What could you do as governor to alleviate the concerns of Georgia voters about those livability, daily, hourly issues that they're confronted with?
But let's be clear. Having children is why you're worried about your price for gas. It's why you're concerned about how much food costs. For women, this is not a reductive issue. You can't divorce being forced to carry an unwanted pregnancy from the economic realities of having a child. And so it's important for us to have both and conversations. We don't have the luxury of reducing it or separating them out, but we also have to talk about what a governor can do. A governor can address housing prices. A governor can address the cost of education. A governor can put money into the pockets of everyday hardworking Georgians instead of giving tax cuts to the wealthy. That's what I talk about on the trail, and that's what's resonating. But let's not pretend that women, half the population, especially those of childbearing age, they understand that having a child is absolutely an economic issue. It is only politicians who see it as simply another cultural conversation.
Okay, so much wrong with that. First of all, just a quick side note, government doesn't give you money or put money in your pocket. Government may take less out of your pocket than it otherwise would, but government doesn't give you anything.
No.
Okay, secondly, only politicians see it that way, as that abortion is something other than an economic decision. I mean, that's what, Gabe, that's what just makes me, shake my head, in that you want to be insulated from some of the effects of inflation. Well, have an abortion, ladies.
It's such a disgusting argument. And really, of course, from a philosophical standpoint, you can simply ask the question to demolish it. It's like, well, okay, what's the limit of that argument? Is it only carrying a pregnancy to term, or is it having a 2-year-old, or having a 5-year-old?
They're expensive.
Or having a 16-year-old.
Very expensive.
They're very expensive. So
21-year-olds in college are really expensive.
So when economic hard times come, are there further choices that parents should be looking out for? I mean, when you take an argument to its logical conclusion, you see how it falls apart. And this is one of those that, the basis of it comes from a place that completely dehumanizes the baby in the womb. Because if you think about it, in any other period in that human life's lifespan, it quickly becomes a more clear moral issue. It's like, oh my gosh, what are you talking about, killing your child? Yeah, that's actually what you're talking about when you're talking about abortion.
I mean, this isn't. We've got the arguments, when does life begin, all that, and we can even take some of that off the table here.
Sure.
At the moment, I obviously I think we're right about that, and I know there's somebody who's like, yeah, 3 men talking about abortion. Okay, well, 314-912-1019, get your thoughts in when you disagree with us on this. This is right now the difference in the worldview, because what's happening is she's not separating out the human life from simply data points on a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
It's all just cogs in the economic machine. And of course, if you believe that the state is the giver and the taker of everything, you can make an argument that the collective is what matters and the individual, the family, whatever, doesn't matter at all. And so to me, this is just such big evidence, not that she's just wrong on the issues, but that she is emblematic of what happens on the fringe left when you simply decide that policy should be based on dehumanizing people into your number, into your place in the society as decided by the state.
Yeah, I just think it reveals how the left, Democrat, socialist left, how far they'll go. Because if you remember the conversation that we would always have with the clump of cells, they reduced the fetus to a clump of cells. It's not a human; it's just a clump of cells. Now they're saying that actual children are sponges of resources. They've reduced them to, well, they're not really children. They take your resources that you could possibly have. And I mean, how far are they going to go with this? Well, we don't know, because they just went farther than we thought that they would. The extent of what they thought they would do before. Now they're, in my opinion, they're a lot farther now.
We've been warning about this mindset for years, but it just became more clear. Because you remember at one point we had Bernie Sanders saying, we've got all this wealth in this country, except we still have people who are in need. Well, he was looking at our property as a collective ownership of the state, and all of us were basically data points when it comes to wealth and resources and wealth. And so it went from property and stuff to now, well, other individuals are just matters of whether it's a resource or whether it's a consumption or whether it is an economic decision. So human beings are economic decisions. And you may say, okay, well, this is about abortion. I'm going to argue it's about more than abortion.
Yeah.
If you think that there's it starts and ends with abortion on this, well, let's look at our neighbors up north in Canada where they are having a full-body debate right now over euthanasia. And one of the arguments that they're making is, well, this is an economic decision as well. This is a financial decision because they have a single-payer health care in the state, and those death panels that we were so mocked for pointing out is the natural progression when we all have a financial ownership in other people's lives. At some point you say, ooh, boy, this is a bad investment. It's just an economic decision. It's nothing personal.
It's just business.
And people then aren't personal.
Exactly. Exactly. 314-912-1019. Just ahead here. The president handing out billions of dollars in government goodies, about $197 million of it's coming to St. Louis because we want more electric vehicle batteries. Some of those are going to be manufactured in St. Louis, so there's going to be a lot of people getting some jobs here. Very happy about it, but it's still incredibly wasteful spending, and there's not a real market for this just yet. I'll give you the details around 6:35 on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL.
Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. Made in St. Louis for St. Louis. It's News Talk STL. St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
I think they're trying to attack the American people.
Live and local.
Gabe, Mike, Ken, you guys are my morning cup of mental coffee. I love the show. Definitely a convert from the old one.
This is News Talk STL.
From the News Talk STL newsroom, I'm Joey Vasevich. $430 million is being put towards building a factory in the Carondelet neighborhood that will produce a component of lithium batteries. Global conglomerate ICL is investing more than $232 million, with an additional $197 million coming from the U.S. Department of Energy via the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law. A Kirkwood couple filed suit last week alleging burglars stole more than $300,000 worth of property from their condo after their complex failed to secure the master key. The couple sued the Park McCullough Condominium Association last week in connection to the February 4th burglary at the building at 231 McCullough Avenue. St. Louis city officials submitted an application to FEMA requesting more than $1 million to potentially buy out dozens of homes damaged by floods in the Ellendale neighborhood. Homeowners that were displaced will discuss a potential buyout with city officials. Many residential properties were condemned by the city. The ownership group for the recently closed reality TV restaurant Sweetie Pies is now liquidating many of its assets in an online auction. Assets are being auctioned off through BCL Auction and will take place on October 24th and 25th. And in sports, the Blues beat the Kraken 4-3 in Seattle in overtime last night. Next up, the Blues head to Edmonton to face the Oilers on Saturday. Puck drop is at 3 p.m. For in-depth coverage of these stories and more, go to newstalkstl.com.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Traffic Center.
A lot of problems on your roads this morning. 270 northbound past Gravel, a crash blocking the right lane. Traffic jam back to I-55. They cleared an overturned vehicle at I-44, which was making that even worse. 70 westbound at Kings Highway, we've got a crash. 2 right lanes closed. Your jam back to Shreve. 70 westbound before 170, another crash. This one reportedly blocking the 4 left lanes, although MoDOT doesn't have it on camera. Traffic's at a standstill back to about Florissant Road. This report sponsored by Ride Finders, and I'm Joe Sonderman from the News Talk STL Traffic Center.
Ride Finders is a St. Louis area's free carpool and vanpool ride matching program. By sharing the ride to work, you can save thousands of dollars per year and take thousands of cars off the roads. Do the right thing. Visit ridefinders.org for details.
From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
Another chilly start this morning under partly cloudy skies, but mostly sunny as we go through the day, in and out of some clouds, but certainly a warmer day. 69 degrees, a little breeze this afternoon from the southwest at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Overnight lows in the mid-40s, right about where we would be typically this time of year, but the high tomorrow and through the weekend near 80 degrees and dry. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
Are you downright disgusted with the corruption of our Democratic leadership at St. Louis City Hall that's been reported in the news?
Hi, this is Mary Teresa McLean, Chair of the Republican Party City of St. Louis. If you want to put our city that we all love back on track, you must get involved. If you're ready to be part of the solution, we invite you. Come and meet us. Learn more at stlouisrepublicans.com.
Paid for by St. Louis City Republican PAC. Curtis Farber, Treasurer.
Start a podcast for your business today with Epic STL Podcasts. Engage existing and potential customers, build trust in your brand, and drive traffic to your business. Log on to NewstalkSTL.com and click on the Epic STL Podcast button to learn more.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Senator Jim Talent. We live in an age where saying common sense things is considered to be controversial or even revolutionary. Like, we need oil and gas. Yeah, I think we do. Or maybe we shouldn't shut down the schools. Maybe it's not a really great idea when troubled teenagers come in and just to rush to pump them full of drugs.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 3:30 on News Talk STL.
Are you looking for the cheapest prices on car insurance? Then call the Cheap Car Insurance Hotline right now. Hey, you're guaranteed to save money on your car insurance. Most car insurances can be canceled at any time. That means if you find a better deal, you can switch right away. We're not just one company. We offer most of the major brands of car insurance. We're like a discount supermarket for car insurance. And it doesn't matter if you have a good record or a bad driving record. Our agents are experts at finding you the right car insurance for your needs. Our average customer saves hundreds of dollars a year when they call us to switch. So why don't you make this 100% free call right now and see how much you can save on your car insurance? Paid for by AIS Insurance.
800-721-5741. 800-721-5741. 800-721-5741. That's 800-721-5741.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
It's Thursday, and at 3:40 we'll have Randy Tobler, 4:25 Jim Carafano, and at 5:25 RNC Deputy Comms Director Nathan Brand.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 3:30 on News Talk STL. Talk lines are open now at 314-912-1019. You're listening to Mike Ferguson in the morning. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, 99.1 HD3 and NewstalkSTL.com.
I know it's a little ways away, but 2 hours from now at 8:35, we've got Aaron Dorr from the American Firearms Association. Joe Biden says, in these elections here in 19 days, you send me back a Democratic majority in the Senate. I think he knows he's losing the House. But you send me back a Democratic majority, we're going to get ourselves some gun control. We're going to get in a so-called assault weapons ban. Matter of fact, in Illinois, Senator Tammy Duckworth, she's up for re-election this year. This is one of her platform's issue. Gun control, assault weapons bans, regardless of the fact that the Supreme Court not only ruled in favor of the Second Amendment, but made it very clear how they interpret the Second Amendment. So you have the left, which has basically said the Constitution is irrelevant and a co-equal branch of government is irrelevant when we're trying to take away people's freedoms. So we're going to talk to Aaron Dorr about that at 8:35. You do not want to miss that at all. That's going to be some intense stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, questions.
They're coming for your guns again.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they are. Absolutely, they are. All right. President Biden lays more groundwork for electric vehicles. He's handing out literally billions of dollars in taxpayer-funded grants for private companies to make EV batteries. More from Fox News' Gernal Scott, and I've got the St. Louis connection in just a moment.
The president said China is leading the world in making these batteries right now.
But China's battery technology is not more innovative than anyone else's.
The 20 companies selected, he says, will make inroads in that supply chain. Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm says these companies are in on the front end.
To make this all-electric future of transportation real.
President Biden couldn't resist a dig against Republicans whom he says oppose these plans, but he says he's hearing from them now, wanting the projects for their own districts. Gernal Scott, Fox News.
$197 million of those projects are coming to St. Louis. Israel Chemicals Limited, ICL, They are in South St. Louis. That's where the Monsanto plant used to be.
Yeah.
So they are getting $197 million. Actually, they're one of their people. I think I don't know if he was the CEO or the managing director, was actually at that announcement at the White House. And about 150 people are going to get hired in manufacturing jobs, a couple dozen others in like engineering and design jobs and things like that. So they're saying this is a great thing. Look at this, a private sector business getting $197 million of taxpayer money. But let me tell you something. The government would not be handing out billions of dollars to pay for the manufacturing if there were a market worth that much already in place. There's no market for it yet. If there were, if people wanted this, these companies would be racing for research and development, and they'd be investing and risking their own money instead of our money on this. So they're trying to create a market through cronyism, Gabe.
You know, one of the things that I always kind of look at in these situations is sort of the conservative conundrum. How does a conservative respond in an environment where there's government money flying everywhere? Mm-hmm. It's like, do you grab the government money because you're able to, or do you stand on principle and say, no, I will not support this program? And it kind of goes back to the way I view reparations. I've said this many times on this station. I'm against the idea, but if you write me a check, I'm gonna cash it. So it's the same thing. I mean, the sort of dig at Republicans that was mentioned in the story is kind of disingenuous. It's like, well, of course, my state sent money to the federal government, and now the federal government is giving money away. Of course, I'm going to advocate for my state to get some of that money back. But, you know, overall, though, the whole program is one of these exercises in futility as the government tries to create a market that doesn't exist or that is not yet at the level
so small. I mean,
at the
there.
level that they want. Yeah.
I think it's wrong on its face, but I'd like to find out where those 20 cities are, those 20 places are that they're going to be having those companies go in, because the problem I have is that it's going to be all in democratically run cities or states, whatever, and then the Republicans are out of any potential that they're going to be. I mean, as wrong as it is, like Gabe said, you know, that we're still going to want to get some of that, but how much of it are Republican-run cities or states going to be getting at?
I've heard it described that Congress is 535 people running around Washington, D.C. with one hand over their wallet, meaning their constituents' wallet, and the other hand trying to get into every other wallet.
Yeah.
And that's basically what we have here. So if you meet and at some point you run across somebody who's like, oh, yeah, I work at ICL and I manufacture EV batteries, your first answer to them should be, oh, you're welcome.
Because I'm paying for your job.
I'm the one who's paying for your job. I work in the private sector. Not really.
No, you don't.
This is capitalism 101, markets 101. This isn't capitalism. No. This is cronyism. Is what this is. So for the people who get the jobs, hey, happy for you. Good. It's out there, you know, go do it. At some point, you're going to have to stand on your own, and we're going to see whether or not there is a market for this in 5 years, you know, or 10 years. And what's happening is the government trying to starve off, you know, by cutting off petroleum, by cutting off oil, they're trying to force people into creating this market that we don't have the technology for yet and that people simply don't want and most people can't afford. Mike Pence was actually on Fox News's morning something or other. But he was on with America Reports, on Fox News's America Reports, and he's responding because all this is connected to the release of the oil from the oil reserves as part of the effort to shut off new manufacturing and drilling of oil.
The Strategic Petroleum Reserve exists for national security. And the idea of using the Strategic Petroleum Reserve to respond to their failed energy policies is antithetical to American interests.
And the failed energy policies includes trying to force people off of oil and natural gas and into something the market doesn't want. When government says, no, you're going to do it, it's good for you, go ahead and take your medicine. And then wondering why people are hurting so bad after all of their decisions.
You know, back in the 30s here in St. Louis, they created jobs to having men go on along River des Peres and just put blocks down to create jobs. That was a job creator, and it was actually serving a function and helping the local community. This is a lot different. They're trying to create a market, and that's just it, and that's not even there right now.
Yeah, the Works Progress Administration, there were some things that were built that were useful, but so much of that was just wasted make work stuff. And in this case right here, batteries alone go for about $400 on an electric vehicle, as I understand it. None of the core materials needed for them are natural to our hemisphere.
Right. We have to import them from other countries.
Right. And so we can assemble them here, we can manufacture them here, and that's fine. Somebody's going to get paid to do it. You know, I'd rather be here than somewhere else. But just keep in mind that you cannot force people into a market that they don't want or can't afford or aren't sold on, and that's not the job of the government to do that.
Stop helping us.
Yeah, you're helping the economy.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, you're helping the economy to death is what you're trying to do, which is hurting people all over the country. All right, just ahead here. All right, let's talk Halloween costumes.
Okay.
And not just the sexy leggy ones.
Right. All right.
Can you go too far in good taste? So eBay pulls down, says you're not allowed to sell those costumes on our platform. I'll tell you what it is. Are they overreacting, or is that just a little bit of common sense? We'll talk about that right around 6:51 and 23 and a quarter seconds.
Killing ourselves and there ain't no cure. No. Maybe tomorrow, maybe today.
Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. Made in St. Louis for St. Louis. It's News Talk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Traffic Center.
Some problems for you on northbound 270. First of all, after gravel, we've got a crash blocking the right lane, so you're jammed back to I-55. Then more slow traffic running up through 44 and Doherty Ferry. There's a crash in the left lane there. 70 westbound to Kings Highway, they're working to clear one. They've got the right lane closed. You're backed up to about Shreve, so that's a brief delay. 67 southbound at Flukem is blocked. We've got an overturned vehicle there. Page at Skinker, a crash with injuries reported as well. This report sponsored by Mucinex DM. Say goodbye to retaking medicine every few hours. Mucinex DM gives cough and chest congestion relief 3 times longer than your typical 4-hour cough and chest congestion medicine. That's 3 times longer. Nothing lasts longer. I'm Joe Sonderman. That's the very latest from the News Talk STL Traffic Center.
The candidates.
We're going to win this campaign.
The issues.
Gas prices, Biden inflation.
The election news, analysis, and opinion you won't get anywhere else. Decision 2022 happens.
There's a backlash coming
on News Talk STL.
Do you have a property that is more hassle than is worth? Hi, this is David with House Sold Easy, and I buy houses cash. If you own a property and you want to sell it fast at a fair price, call me at 314-293-3000. Do you own an ugly property, a behind on mortgage payment property, a lazy tenant that won't pay rent property, a too much junk and clutter property, or even a, hey, I'm curious about a fair cash offer property? Well, don't worry. I buy them all, and I want to make you a fair cash offer. Call me at 314-293-3000.
Open enrollment is coming for anyone covered by Affordable Care Act.
Open enrollment starts November 1st and stays open through January 15th.
Hi, this is Mike Butts with MB Health Insurance Agency. And regardless if you are new or renewing your health insurance, the process can be confusing and very time-consuming. MB Health is local here in St. Louis, and we will handle your enrollment quickly, properly, and effectively.
Call Mike Butts and his expert team at 314-544-5400.
Or visit mbhealth.com.
If you're concerned about the current market and the 40-year record high inflation that we're seeing, you're not alone.
Credit card usage skyrocketing and at record highs, savings rates plunging.
It's 100% certainty that you're in recession now.
The good news is, for decades, Steve All and his team have been helping people just like you protect and grow your income. And most importantly, not run out of money.
My clients that are currently sitting there on guaranteed incomes, they're not really worried about what's happening in the market. So they're more at peace because every month that paycheck comes in.
Call Steve today for your customized market protection plan. 636-230-8824. That's 636-230-8824. Or visit yourmoneymattersstl.com. Investment advisory services offered through Retirement Wealth Advisors, LLC. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance products, including annuities. Licensed in Missouri and Illinois.
The news and talk
North Korea launched an intercontinental ballistic missile
that matters to St. Louis.
Looters that were arrested are illegal aliens.
News, analysis, opinion.
The 2022 midterm elections.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. For podcast articles and more, find us on NewstalkSTL.com. Talk lines are open now at 314-912-1019. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, 99.1 HD3 and NewstalkSTL.com.
Okay, so a little bit earlier, I'm making the wisecrack about Halloween costumes, and I'm like, absolutely, definitely, I am absolutely offended by all the sexy leggy Halloween costumes. I said, that's just in case my mom or my wife or my daughter's listening, guys. I just got a text, yeah, mom's listening.
well, good looking out then.
Oops.
You covered yourself.
Mom, you're retired. You're supposed to be asleep still. Anyway, it's 6:51. Got Gabe here. Got Ken here. Okay, so here's a question. When it comes to Halloween costumes, I've actually never been that big of I don't dress up for Halloween. Although this year I've been ordered by about 50 people that I have to because I got this stupid eye patch on. I'm like, you have to do it.
Yeah.
I don't really have to, but I don't know if I'm getting out of it this year.
There's a social obligation.
But get this, Jeffrey Dahmer costumes have been removed from eBay as we were approaching Halloween. So Michelle Polino has a report on this. But let's start with the fact that there is a line of Jeffrey Dahmer costumes.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, there's good taste and bad taste. Now, I think if you want to sell it and you want to buy it, I'm not saying it should be outlawed. A private sector can do it at once, but there's a difference between saying, ooh, I'm Slender Man, or I'm Jack the Ripper, or, versus I'm the guy who did that not that long ago.
Yeah, I think the line, and I was thinking about this because you posed this question earlier. I was thinking about this. Where is the line, right? So
right.
We're okay with fictional characters, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because one of my favorite fictional characters is Darth Vader, and he is basically an atrocity machine from that movie franchise. But he didn't kill actually any real people. So okay, fictional characters are on the table. We can do those, and then there, Jack the Ripper you brought up. He was a real killer.
He was a real person. He was a real killer.
However, there's no one alive who remembers him being a threat. There's no one alive who he killed their relative.
Okay, so that's interesting that you mentioned that part because that's in the story by Michelle Polino.
The new Netflix series Monster, the Jeffrey Dahmer story, is so popular that a surge of listings for the serial killer's related costumes hit eBay for the Halloween season. However, the e-commerce site has pulled many down and put a ban on Dahmer costumes because they violate its policy on violence and violent criminals. According to BuzzFeed, the platform's policy states that sellers are banned from listing items that promote or glorify violence or are associated with violent individuals, the acts for which they gain notoriety, or crime scenes from the past 100 years. Monster, the Jeffrey Dahmer story, is now streaming on Netflix. Michelle Polino, Fox News.
The bigger problem here isn't that somebody's buying Jeffrey Dahmer costumes. Honestly, I would think you're a little weird if you do that, but I'm not losing any sleep over that. You do what you want to do. I would give you a side eye, but not my business. I don't really care. It's that we tend to make into celebrities these monsters because they're on TV.
Yeah, it's weird. Like once you get a dramatized version of your exploits, now you are a celebrity on the same order of anybody else. Somebody who produces music, somebody an actor. It's like, oh yeah, see, I'm dressed up as, I don't know, Pamela Anderson from speaking of the skimpy costumes, right? Pamela Anderson from Baywatch, right?
Babe, do not wear a Pamela Anderson costume for Halloween.
I know I don't have the legs for it.
Well, like, for example, I mean, you talk about bad taste. I mean, there's bad taste like in blackface and being Hitler. I mean, there are things that the market's going to say, okay, you know what? You're canceled. My problem is I don't want the other side to say, well, that Trump outfit, you're canceled. There's bad taste and there's really bad taste.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're not even so much talking about cancel culture as we are. I think the whole trend that we've got. I mean, if Jeffrey Dahmer were still alive, and of course he's been planted firmly in hell, but if he were still alive today, and somebody had a chance to take a selfie with him and put him on Instagram, they'd do it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think it would be in terribly bad taste.
Sure.
But at the same time, I think the market would prevail and say, "Look, you're in real bad taste, dude." Yeah. I mean, yeah, do what you got to do, but
I did kind of crack up when Michelle Flynn is reporting that they have a rule against like promoting costumes that promote violence. Really, I'm pretty sure you've got like Freddy and Jason.
Every one of them.
What was the other? There's Jason, there's Freddy, there's Michael Myers.
Michael Myers, yeah.
Yeah, you're pretty sure you have those costumes out there. I think they promoted violence.
The
so
trifecta.
The bottom line is eBay is like, ooh, this is really, really bad. Let's get rid of this and try to find a policy. What they should do is just say, nah, it's creepy. We'll pass up on the fees on selling that.
Yeah, I mean, you would think that they wouldn't necessarily publish a very specific policy that way because it gives you a little leeway in terms of being able to do all this. But then again, we ask for specific policies because when they start canceling us, we need to know why. So I don't know. I kind of waffle back and forth in that regard because private businesses they can do what they want, but I always like them to to apply their rules evenly. So
that's my problem is they need to do it evenly.
Yeah, and I don't even really care one way or the other. I just have such a laissez-faire attitude to those things.
Mm-hmm.
But when I saw that, a lot of people are debating whether or not they should sell them or not. And I'm thinking, I think there's a bigger picture. Why are we drawn to these stories of these horrendous people instead of trying to erase them from memory? I mean, Jeffrey Dahmer is the type of person who should be erased from memory. Other people, your Hitlers and others, should be remembered so it never happens again.
Right, learning the lessons of history.
Well, I think Dahmer should be that way. We need to know that those people are out there so we can at least be ready for them.
Yeah, I mean that's general personal safety, I guess. I mean, that's just such a 1 in every 200 million type of thing.
Yeah, the sociopath, the murderous sociopath.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. It's an interesting question.
Yeah, because they've got the series, and listen, doing a docu-series or doing something on these horrendous crimes, I don't have an issue with that.
Sure,
but it's the reaction that we tend to have towards these and making them into celebrities that I'm like, man, something's broken.
Our celebrity culture is broken for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, that, yeah.
All right, just ahead, the president wants to release more oil into the market. We know how this is going to turn out, but we'll talk about it just ahead.
Release. Sean Long for STL FenceWorks. For over 50 years, our time-honored commitment to quality, service, and affordability make STL FenceWorks the go-to authority for fence, deck, and leisure space projects. During these unsure times of severe inflation and supply shortages, you can depend on STL FenceWorks to meet your needs. Being the #1 fence and deck contractor in the state, we've leveraged our position to make contract buy-ins hedging against price increases. Also, our buying power has allowed us to stockpile fence and deck material. There are no shortages at STL FenceWorks. In fact, we have more fence and deck material on hand now than we have had at any time in our 50-year history. Lastly, our commitment to a quality and customer-first approach has never wavered. Your project will be completed by experienced craftsmen in a timely manner, and our lifetime warranty reinforces that commitment. STL FenceWorks warranty surpasses anything offered in the industry. Visit STLFenceWorks.com and allow us to bring your backyard dreams to life. As always, at STL FenceWorks, your satisfaction is our passion.
Hey folks, here's great news for active aging seniors. The Kanega Watch, the only medical alert smartwatch with built-in fall detection. Yeah, the Kanega Watch is much different than the other guys. It's a stylish, discreet watch you can wear all the time. Get help through the watch in one of 3 ways. Your voice, pushing the watch's alert button, or have the fall detection connect you to a US-based 24/7 monitoring center who'll speak to you through your watch and can send help to your GPS location nationwide. And get this, it can do that even if you're not responsive. This is true 24/7 peace of mind for you and those that love you. Order your Kanega Watch with a full refund 30-day trial period. Call now, 800-413-7152. 800-413-7152. 800-413-7152. That's 800-413-7152.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at NewstalkSTL.com.
News this hour from townhall.com.
I'm Greg Clugston in Washington. Chaos is the word being used to describe Britain's government after 6 weeks with new Prime Minister Liz Truss, and she's facing calls for her resignation from members of her own party.
British Prime Minister Liz Truss is hanging on to power by a thread after a senior minister quit with a barrage of criticism, and a key policy vote descended into chaos and acrimony. A botched economic plan unveiled by the government last month triggered financial turmoil and a political crisis that's seen the replacement of Truss's Treasury chief, multiple policy U-turns and breakdowns of discipline. Many Conservatives say Truss must now resign, but she's remained defiant, saying she's a fighter and not a quitter. While one Conservative, Simon Hoare, says the government is simply in disarray. Charles de Ledesma, London.
Former Vice President Mike Pence says the Republican Party needs to be resolute in its opposition to what he calls Russia's unconscionable war of aggression in Ukraine.
I believe the conservatives must make it clear that Putin must stop, and Putin will pay. There can be no room in the conservative movement for apologists for Putin. There is only room in this movement for champions of freedom.
A disturbing new government study finds that pregnancy-related deaths spiked nearly 80% since 2018, with COVID-19 being a factor in a quarter of last year's deaths. The increase in the number of women who died from pregnancy or childbirth complications in the U.S. has disproportionately claimed Black and Hispanic women as victims. As winter approaches, the energy outlook is bleak, with high costs and tight fuel supplies. The Energy Department now projecting sharp price increases for home heating compared to last winter. More at townhall.com.
You know how much you're really paying for life insurance through work? I can almost guarantee you're overpaying for limited coverage. I'm Joel Clark, a Select Quote agent for over 20 years. My clients are shocked to learn how expensive life insurance at work really is because of a rate that's driven up by unhealthy people. Why pay more when you don't have to? For over 35 years, SelectQuote has helped people save 50% or more by shopping highly rated insurance carriers. I found a 40-year-old man with high blood pressure, a $500,000 policy for only $18 a month. Don't procrastinate. Workplace open enrollment will be here soon. Let SelectQuote save you money and get you the coverage you need to protect your family.
For your free quote in just minutes, call 1-800-865-2266. That's 1-800-865-2266. 1-800-865-2266. Or go to SelectQuote.com. Full details on example policy and carrier ratings at SelectQuote.com/commercials. Price could vary by health, issuing company, and other factors. Not available in all states.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Traffic Center.
It has already been a really rough morning. 55 northbound, you're pretty much stop and go from I-55 up to Doherty Ferry due to a couple of earlier crashes. That's a 25-minute plus delay. Also 55 northbound slow, Bayless to Gasconade. 64 eastbound to Timberlake. Looks like a crash blocking the left lane there. That traffic is jammed approaching Clarkson Olive. Give yourself about 10 extra minutes. 70 westbound at Kings Highway. They're working to clear a crash. That shouldn't be much longer, but they did have the right lane closed and you were slow back to about Shreve. This support sponsored by Blindster. Need new blinds or shades? Blindster.com offers custom-made blinds, shades, and shutters shipped right to you at prices lower than the big box retailers. Blindster blinds are easy to install. They're guaranteed to fit, too. Don't overpay for new blinds. Shop today and save big at Blindster.com. I'm Joe Sonderman. That's the latest from the News Talk STL Traffic Center.
From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
Another chilly start this morning under partly cloudy skies, but mostly sunny as we go through the day, in and out of some clouds, but certainly a warmer day. 69 degrees, a little breeze this afternoon from the southwest at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Overnight lows in the mid-40s, right about where we would be typically this time of year, but the high tomorrow and through the weekend near 80 degrees and dry. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD.
Have you been floored? Not until you've gone to Michael's Flooring Outlet. They've been a locally owned and operated family business for more than 28 years. You want variety? Michaels has carpet, hardwood, laminate, ceramic tile, luxury vinyl, natural stone, and many other options. Save money and get quality at Michaels. Plus, your installation will be done right the first time when you hire the experts at Michaels. You can shop in store at one of their 3 convenient locations or shop from home. Check out everything that Michaels has to offer at igotfloored.com.
For $1 a day, if any covered appliance breaks in your home, we guarantee to fix or replace it. All makes and models, washers, dryers, refrigerators, air conditioners, and more. Guaranteed to be fixed or replaced for $1 a day. Call the Home Service Club now for free information.
800-399-3701. 800-399-3701. 800-399-3701. That's 800-399-3701.
Talk radio made in St. Louis for St. Louis. This is News Talk STL.
Our responsibility.
News, analysis, and opinion.
To provide updated guidance.
At 1019, 94.1, and NewstalkSTL.com. Mike Ferguson.
You play ball like a girl.
Gabe Pfeiffer.
I triple dog dare you.
Get up, can't you hear the alarm?
Get up, St. Louis.
So it's time to get out of bed. Pour yourself the greatest cup of Kofifi the world has ever seen. Rise up with one voice, drain the swamp, and take back our country. Today's the day we're going to do it, and it's time to do it right now, believe me.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
I'm going to talk about yard signs at 720.
Yard signs.
I'm starting to see them pop up now that we're getting closer to the election. Of course, the part of town I live in, they're almost all Democrats, yard signs. But in Pennsylvania, this is bizarre. People get really aggressive with their yard signs. A guy actually hurts himself trying to remove a yard sign that somebody else put on his property. And it brought me back to an idea that I had a few years ago when somebody stole a yard sign out of my property. I thought, you know what? I'm just going to booby trap it. Is that bad that I thought about that? But this guy got hurt because somebody else booby trapped a yard sign, but he didn't get permission to put him on his property. And then I'm just kind of curious. I'm going to put the question out there, 720. What are you seeing as far as like the yard sign war? And you would think logically that yard signs don't make a difference in elections, but they actually psychologically kind of do. To some degree. I mean, it's a bandwagon marketing technique that you want entire neighborhoods blanketed with the same ones, and you make people think, oh, well, this must be what everybody's into. I guess I'm the outlier. I'm not a big yard sign guy, but 720, I kind of want to know people's takes on that, how they're feeling. Because I drive up down my street, and I'd say 10, 15% of the houses have yard signs in, and they're all Democrats. All of them, in my neighborhood at least. All right, so 720. We'll talk about that. It's 7:07 right now. I'm Mike Ferguson with Gabe Pfeiffer and Ken Williams. Biden administration, man, they're not even tripling down or quadrupling down, quintupling down at this point. On
we need more words.
Yeah, really, really lousy energy policy. It's 2 weeks before the elections, but the president says, this has nothing to do with politics. I'm just trying to keep the price of gasoline down for the American people, even though he wants to run the gasoline and oil industry out of business altogether. Biden administration explaining their latest course of action when it comes to the strategic oil reserves and everything, trying to address energy prices in the U.S. after the shortages that they have caused. Fox News' Kevin Corke explains in the way that only Kevin Corke can explain.
The White House does insist that theirs is a response to an ongoing national emergency deserving of special action, and thus the release of another 15 million barrels of oil from the SPR. They've been releasing lots of it, 50 million, 30 million, 180 million, 15 million barrels. You get the picture. Meantime, over the White House, they're blaming greedy big oil for the high cost of fuel.
Of course they do. But remember, this is the president who literally campaigned on putting fossil fuels out of business. Literally. Those were his words. And now he's dealing with an electorate that is absolutely suffering in several ways throughout their lives from the cost of that leftist religious worship of the green energy cult. Can I be any more clear
on
this?
I think in the very beginning of Biden's presidency, I think one of his first accusations was at the oil companies, along with, remember when the supply chain issues were, there was the chicken farmer and stuff like that. He originally was accusing the oil companies back then of being greedy.
Yeah, greed. Now, they actually, per gallon of oil and gas, they actually don't make that much, but there are such massive quantities that they make very large numerical profits. Listen, oil companies, I'm not saying are the heroes here. You know, there are plenty of villains in the oil industry. I'm not trying to say that, but what I'm saying is that the Biden administration sent an early signal. First day, we want to cut off supply. We want to make it expensive. We want to discourage. Eventually, we want to get rid of oil production, and then we see what happened. And they went, no. That's not what we meant. You greedy oil companies. You're not drilling enough. You're not manufacturing. You're not refining enough. And the oil companies are saying, you just told us your plan to put us out of business. Why would we invest billions of dollars in anything new right now when you've told us you want to cut us off from the market?
It even goes back earlier than that. During the campaign, he said we're going to end fossil fuels. I mean, he made promises like that, and he's following through. And now he's saying, no, we never wanted to. Really?
If I owned a cake shop, and the president said we're going to end eating cake. We just can't have you doing that anymore. It's bad for your diet. So we're going to put our foot down on this. Well, I'm not going to stay in that business.
Right. Yeah, and it's one thing to say I stand up to the government, but what you're saying is you just heard from the people who regulate and can influence the cost and the ability to do business. If they tell you we're coming after you, okay, you don't want to do it, but you gotta say, well, I gotta make a decision for my family's survival here.
Yeah.
If federal leases go away, which essentially they have, by virtue of all the requirements that they put on them, oil business basically goes away too. They rely almost entirely, well, very largely, I'll say, on federal land leases, and those are determined by elements in the executive branch. So when the head of the executive branch says, I don't like you guys, you're going to take precautions, and they're going to be very defensive, and you're not going to want to expand. You're going to be very much concerned with trying to keep afloat until maybe you get a chance later on.
And it's not just oil, keep in mind. I mean, we've already been warned by Spire, we've been warned by the Public Service Commission, we've been warned by, the energy departments around that the natural gas prices are going up. So when your natural gas bill, when your heating bill for your house comes in December and comes in January and comes in February, and you see a jump, which we've already been told is going to happen. It's not a matter of, boy, maybe we can avoid it. No, we know it's not going to happen. Understand, by the way, those are going to come after the elections. By the way, those increases are coming after the elections.
Yeah, of course.
Understand that this is directly because of the Biden administration policy. So when your heating bill, if it's, I don't know, if you got a 2-story house, you could have a $200 bill for a month of natural gas heating a home. You suddenly got a $225, $230 bill, $250 bill. You got a much larger house, or you've got a business and you've got a $300 or $400 heating bill, and suddenly you're near $500 for your small business. Understand where that came from, and it is unnecessary.
And not only that, we were talking about this morning how Biden is actually propping up new EV battery manufacturing through the government. So not only are they saying, well, gas companies, we're not in favor of you, but we're also going to help your competition. I mean, they're going full bore, and then they expect what from the oil companies? Well, you're going to have a natural progression there.
I mean, that's the cronyism, picking the winners and the losers.
Yeah.
I mean, what you just described, that's exactly what it is. And then when they turn around and blame capitalism or any element of it, it's to say it's disingenuous doesn't even really scratch the surface, guys.
I never get the whole, it's only the greedy corporations raising prices right now. That's the problem argument, because no one ever says when the prices are low, what very generous companies that we have here that they lowered the prices for us.
Those altruistic oil
They're
companies.
so altruistic. Nobody said during the summer of 2019. Remember the summer of 2019 when gas was like $1.50 some places,
right?
Stuff like that. Nobody was saying, "Oh, thank you, oil corporations. You're being so nice to us, giving us with you guys are so great." No one said that. No one thanked nobody, especially the politicians. No politician said thank the oil companies for these low gas prices.
Nope.
And they were making about the same profits. I mean, I'm sure they're going up and down, but their profits are based on the amount of oil consumed.
Yeah.
And because the per gallon profit is about the same, and it's a pretty thin margin, but again, massive quantities is how they make that. And the fact that there are still people who do not connect the Biden administration's attack on what we need. I mean, these are things we need to live. You want to go to work, you need oil and gas. You want to keep your house warm when it's 20 degrees outside, you need gas. You want products that do basically everything in your house, you need oil and gas. So to attack this is attacking the things that we need to live. Oil companies, still plenty of bad guys. They're definitely the villains from like Dallas. They're out there. I'm saying they're out there, but what this is right now is that you've got a group of people who've been elected to office who absolutely believe that they have the power or they should be able to change how we live and absolutely hurt people in the process.
Well, you made the point, Mike, that when prices were really low, corporations were making still the same amount of money. It's actually a talking point for Trump right now that with the corporations were making when I was doing it, corporations were making tons of money and people were paying a lot less. So everybody was winning. In my opinion, there's nothing wrong. If I'm paying a little bit and the corporations are making it, okay, great.
That's the great thing about capitalism is exchanges are based on mutual benefit. I'm trying to remember what the lowest gas price at the gas station by my house, which is the one off of Big Bend and 40. Mm-hmm. That's the nearest one to my house. I want to say it was like $1.48, I think was the cheapest that it got around my house.
Yeah. It's wild.
Those were the days.
Oh, my God.
Those were the days.
That wasn't 1980, folks.
Yeah. Not 1973.
Oh, man. All right, just ahead here. Man, some people get aggressive with these yard signs now that it's campaign season. What are you seeing around the metro area? 314-912-1019. This is 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
Get up! Can't you hear the alarm? Get up! This is your cousin God. Get up! What are you waiting for? Get up!
Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. Made in St. Louis for St. Louis. It's News Talk STL.
You want to give me more information?
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Traffic Center.
It has just been an amazingly busy morning. We have had 5 overturned vehicles, and we're just now in the 7 o'clock hour. Now, most of those have been cleared. We're only dealing with a couple of accidents right now. That's 64 eastbound to Timberlake Manor. We've got a crash. Left lane is closed there. Traffic backed up to Boone's Crossing. 61 southbound at Route W, a pretty serious crash in the median. That traffic is backing up. 55 northbound, you're delayed. Weber up through Gasconade. North 270, 55 up through Manchester is slower. Stop and go in spots. That's an 18-minute delay. That's where all these incidents were earlier this morning. So slow down. 64 westbound at Kings Highway. Also watch out for debris in the right lane. This report sponsored by Ride Finders, and I'm Joe Sonderman from the News Talk STL Traffic Center.
Don't like sitting in traffic? Do something about it. Register at ridefinders.org and be matched with other commuters who want to save money and the environment by carpooling or van pulling to work. Do the ride thing. Learn more at ridefinders.org.
If you believe Brandon and the supply chain issues are still in crisis, or even if you don't, hurry into Southern Armory, your Second Amendment headquarters, for the best selection of firearms, suppressors, holsters, ammunition, pepper spray, and knives. Browse through our constantly changing inventory, order something special, or have us repair or modify that firearm that you've been putting off. Try our firearms training simulator. See the demo video on our website. Come into Southern Armory, 9901 Watson Road, 1 mile east of 270 and 44, at southernarmory.com. That's southernarmory.com.
In times of economic uncertainty and chaos, your money means nothing. You may not even be able to get it from your bank or ATM. And the money you do have in the stock market will go down and down. What you can bank on is gold and silver. Gold and silver have been a reliable and trusted form of currency for thousands of years. Gold and silver have never been worth zero, and typically gold holds its value during economic turmoil. Call the Gold Hotline now and learn how to protect your money and your assets with gold and silver. And learn how to set up a new IRA or roll over your current one into a gold-backed IRA. Protect your money from the next market crash with gold and silver. Call now for your free gold guide.
800-281-4224. 800-281-4224. 800-281-4224. That's 800-281-4224.
Fox News commentary.
Our illustrious president read something incorrectly on his teleprompter again. Let's play another round of Words with Joe next.
On 9/11, our nation made a commitment to never forget. Since then, it's been the Tunnel to Towers Foundation honoring those words with action. So many people gave their lives while saving others on 9/11. Tunnel to Towers carries forward that legacy of courage and heroism by honoring our country's military and first responder heroes, people who are willing to die for you and me. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. That's T2T.org.
Our President Joe Biden delivered a speech, and I use the term speech loosely, on how to report student loan forgiveness fraud, and surprise, surprise, he messed it up. He told people to report to the government-run fraud website, which is reportfraud.ftc.gov, but instead of saying dot like a normal person, he proceeded to say DOT. Come on, man, you're killing us here. This is how oblivious Joe is with a teleprompter. Can you imagine him without one? Well, actually, we can, because just the other day, while licking an ice cream cone in Portland, unscripted and unprompted Joe told reporters our economy is strong as hell. Strong as hell. 40-year high inflation over 8%, skyrocketing gas prices, a worker shortage, and ongoing supply chain crisis is Joe's definition of strong as hell. Boy, I sure hope we don't see the day Joe has to admit the economy is in the crapper. I swear we are being punked because this all feels like a giant and very cruel joke. I'm Tommy Lahren, and you can listen to all of my hot takes at foxnewscommentary.com.
Hey, it's Katie, reminding you to subscribe to our show podcast so you never miss anything that happens here at News Talk STL. Get our podcasts every day on the show pages at newstalkstl.com, or just subscribe to your favorite shows on Spotify, Apple, Google, Amazon, or anywhere else you get your podcasts.
Talk lines are open now at 314-912-1019. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, 99.1 HD3 and newstalkstl.com.
Okay, here in a couple minutes, I'm going to want you to tell me whether or not my thoughts that I had about yard signs are bad or not. I may put out a yard sign or two this year. I usually don't do yard signs. First of all, I am in complete conflict with the majority of people on my neighborhood block, and I no, I'm not changing voids. I don't know. I guess I might be adding to a statement or something. But here in a minute, there's a story out of Pennsylvania where a guy actually got hurt trying to remove a yard sign, and what happened to him is actually something I had thought about doing in my yard. So I'm going to tell you what I thought about. You tell me whether I was right or wrong, or whether it's bad or good. On that when it comes to yard signs. But also, what are you seeing around the metro area? I live in Richmond Heights. So far, 3 weeks away from the election, almost 3 weeks from the election, I'm seeing, 10-15% of my neighborhood yard signs are starting to go up. I suspect it'll be more as the election draws nearer. And in the neighborhood I live in, they're all Democrat.
Of course.
So if you drive through my street, you would think, wow, Trudy Bush Valentine's got this in the bag. Yeah, because that's what I'm seeing. And I was driving down Manchester yesterday to go meet my friend Matt for lunch, and I saw a lot of Tracy McCreary and Trudy Bush Valentine and those yard signs. I saw a George Haruza sign on there, but the bulk of them that I'm seeing are Democratic signs in the area. So what are you seeing? 314-912-1019. And Ken, I just asked this question, but I'm sorry. Who do we have on the line?
Yeah, listener Peter on the line.
Hey, Peter, you're on News Talk STL. Sorry, man, I'm only 2 cups of coffee into the day.
I live out here in a rural area outside of Troy, and there's been a pretty epic yard sign battle going on one of the intersections out here. So the sign originally was like it was a pro-Democrat sign, says something along the lines of like Democrats are America's last hope or something like that. And it's on public property, so it's on like the county easement. Mm-hmm. And somebody came in behind them and just plastered. They didn't touch the sign itself, but put up a whole bunch of like the stake-in ones in front of it, and kind of blocked the whole thing off of like pro-gun, pro-life, pro-Republican candidate signs, so you couldn't see the sign behind it. And then they came in and cleared it out, and they put them back up, and it's just been going back and forth. It's kind of funny, actually.
That is funny. And I've seen that before. I remember when Mark Mantovani ran against Sam Page a couple years ago in the primary.
Yeah, Democrat primary.
And every time you'd see a Mantovani sign somewhere, somebody would take a Page sign and put it like 2 inches from it and block it. And so they're like the people who volunteer on campaigns, and like their job is to do the signs. I guess they take this stuff personally, man.
Yeah, it's amusing to watch.
It is. Hey, man, I appreciate that. Keep me updated on the yard sign war. I want to hear that because that happens sometimes. I've seen that in some areas. Hey, appreciate it.
Thanks, Peter.
Yep.
Okay, so a couple times I've only had 2 times where signs were tampered with. Years ago, I was running for an office, and I went to a main thoroughfare in the area where I lived, and went to the property owner and said, "Hey, that's a really good location. I've got a decent sized sign here. Do you mind if I put it there?" And I got permission, and they said, "Sure, you can put it up there. Yeah, we like you. That's fine." It was stolen and taken down. Nobody knew anything about it. And then I'm at just kind of a gathering of like a breakfast, thing, and some guys said, "Yeah, we ripped that thing down." I'm like, "What are you doing?" And he goes, "Well, it's outside the window. You're not allowed to do that." I'm like, "No, it's not. I got permission to have that on there." And it was a union that tore it down.
Of course it was.
And they were like, "Call the cops. We don't care. They're union guys too."
Oh,
I mean, so
wow.
there's nothing I could do about it. That thing cost a lot of money. And then a couple years ago, I had a sign in my yard for the 2020 election, and it just said "Any functioning adult 2022 or 2020." Right. And I thought it was a funny sign.
Sure.
I thought it was hilarious.
It's completely innocuous.
It was completely innocuous. It was stolen.
Right off your front yard.
Right out of my front yard. And that brings me to what happened in Pennsylvania here. So this guy in Pennsylvania, he goes out to his property, and there's a yard sign in his yard for one of the candidates for governor, for the Democratic candidate. And he's like, "I don't support that guy. I don't know who put that there. They didn't ask my permission. They just put a yard sign." So he's like, go out there. He's going to pull up the sign.
Sure.
It's booby-trapped with razor blades. And he slices his fingers.
That's wild.
So
that's
you're talking about getting aggressive. But back to my sign that was stolen, that's when I'm like, well, this isn't worth it because people are going to just steal signs if they don't like your signs anyway. And I am definitely the political minority in the part of town I live in. And I thought, wait a minute, if I put up a sign, I think I would actually probably booby trap it with razor blades or like running a wire with something battery so it would deliver a shock as well. And I mentioned that to somebody before, and like, that's hurting people. That's assault. You should be charged if somebody gets hurt. I'm like, they would only get hurt if they're trying to steal my property by trespassing on my property. Well, it doesn't matter. I still don't think I'd be in the wrong if I did that.
It actually does matter.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, my property is my property, and use of force to protect my property is a God-given right. Like that's hello. These are the big rights. Life, liberty, and property. No, I am totally with you, Mike. I think booby trapping things on your own property is well within your rights and should be just fine. The idea though from this story of booby trapping something that you encroach on someone else's property is ridiculous.
Yeah, that's not legal, I don't think.
No.
You're hurting someone on their own property, but back in 2016, I had a Trump sign out, and I'm on a thoroughfare, so it gets a lot of high exposure. And I go out one day, and my daughter actually was pulling it out. I'm like, "What are you doing in my yard? Doing that? This is my yard. I didn't give it to you yet."
I have to die for that to happen.
And she goes, "Dad, people see this, and it's going to be embarrassing for me at school." I said, "Honey, you're going to have to deal with that because this is my yard." And the biggest problem I have is that the kind and open-minded, free-going left-wing people will scratch your car if you got a Trump sticker on your car, and they'll take your sign down if it's a Trump sign or anything close to that. And that's what I think is really bad.
When I hear that when I hear that signs are being stolen, that's just so petty to me. We saw that in the Rockwood School District race not too long ago. Izzy Emig signs were being stolen, caught on camera. They were found in great big bulk. Signs do matter in campaigns. Now, is somebody going to change their vote because they saw a sign? But No, but here's what they are. It's part of a marketing. When you call the different ways of advertising and marketing, one of them is called the bandwagon technique. And if you can like have a part of town where everybody's got the same signs for the same candidate or the same party, the message is being sent. Boy, if you're for the other person, you are way out of step with your neighbors.
Right.
Man, but that's part of marketing and campaigning.
There's also a matter of name recognition.
Name recognition, especially in very, very local races where you go in and you may not know who your state representative candidates are, but I kind of know that name. Well, you know that name because you've seen it 10,000 times driving to the grocery store and driving to church and driving to work. That's why you know the name. So there is a place for them. But the sign wars are interesting to me because if I were to put out a sign, I'm telling you right now, I'm saying it right on the air, I would probably lace it with razor blades just because I know somebody will try to steal it. If they get hurt, I don't care.
It's your yard.
Yeah.
You're protecting your property.
But there are people who would say, no, I should be charged with assault or endangerment because, well,
take it to court.
Then don't try to steal my stuff on my property.
I liked it. Would you say Gabe fired up with a little electricity jolt or something like that?
Mike was talking about that. Yeah, just booby trapping it with an electrical charge.
Yes,
just hit it to where it gives them a nice kick and then they walk away.
Yeah, when they steal them, they tend to do it at night, so you can easily hide the wire, and you just have to plug it into either the outlet or just something that's battery operated.
Mm-hmm. Yep, won't kill them, but it'll let them know don't touch my stuff.
Matter of fact, if you want to really have some fun when you're on YouTube or Rumble or something, look up booby trap yard signs, and you'll see people going in. Most of them are people trying to vandalize or steal Trump signs out of yards back from 2020 in particular. And you'll see people run up there and grab it and then jolt and jump and fall down because they're getting shocked on it. And the funny part is looking at the comments because there are people who are like, you hurt people, you should face criminal charges. And I'm like, that's funny. I don't care who it's for. If a Republican were up there trying to grab a Biden sign and they got hurt, hey, that's your problem.
Yeah.
You're the one who did that.
Hey, choices have consequences.
That's right. 3-1.
Yes, real quick, we got Rebecca.
We have time?
Let's do it.
Okay, all right, Rebecca, you're on News Talk STL.
Hi, just smear the heck out of it with ghost pepper.
With what?
Ghost peppers, I think she said.
Oh, ghost peppers.
Yeah.
But
then whenever they touch their eyes will be on fire, but there'll be no permanent damage.
Wow.
There you go. Ghost pepper juices.
So it doesn't actually hurt your hands when you do it, so you don't know that it's on you.
Oh, you wear gloves.
No, I know. I'm talking about the person who grabs it.
The person who grabs it, though.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. They would never know. I mean, I guess it could be washed off, but, if you smeared it every day and then they tried to take it up, they wouldn't know it was on there. And, buddy, they get that in their eyeballs, they'll know.
Wow.
There you go.
It's just, it's when people act like skunks. Sometimes you got to out-skunk them.
Hey, Rebecca, you are devious.
That is dark, and I love it.
I love it.
I know. That's what happens when you become a grandma.
There you go.
Hey, thanks, Rebecca. Appreciate you being on News Talk STL. All right, now I want to know other ideas for booby trapping signs.
I love it.
I will seriously postpone the next topic if people are calling in and telling me how best to booby trap yard signs.
Yes.
314-912-1019.
Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
St. Louis's place to talk.
Because that's where the votes are getting stolen. When you get into the facts and logic and reason thing, it drives me crazy because you're right. I call it the oh my God virus.
News Talk STL. News, analysis, opinion.
From the News Talk STL newsroom, I'm Joey Vasevich. A judge sentenced a St. Louis drug ring leader Wednesday to 20 years in federal prison. According to court documents, the man arranged to have drugs mailed between Las Vegas and several St. Louis area locations. The Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department found one package that contained about 6 pounds of meth. St. Louis police put out a call for help yesterday in identifying the owners of an urn found in Forest Park at the Probstein Golf Course back in August. After investigation by St. Louis Cremation, no identifying information was found on or inside the urn, and it was taken back to the Property Custody Division for safekeeping. The Village of Washington Park will receive $600,000 in state funding over a 3-year span for its new fire and police buildings, according to the mayor. In October of 2021, the building that housed the village's fire, police, and public works departments burned down. The cause of the fire is still unknown. 3 St. Louis area teenagers stole mail from U.S. Post Office collection boxes, and a 4th teen tried to bribe letter carriers for a master key to unlock other collection boxes, federal prosecutors alleged this week. One of the teens was caught with nearly 180 checks that had been swiped from a collection box in the spring. And in sports, yesterday the Musial Awards announced that Albert Pujols would be presented with the Lifetime Achievement Award for sportsmanship at this year's ceremony. The awards will take place November 19th at Stiefel. For in-depth coverage of these stories and more, go to NewstalkSTL.com.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Traffic Center.
It continues to be a very busy morning. We have had about a half dozen accidents this morning on 270 northbound. The latest is at Gravois, about 5 vehicles blocking the left lane. Traffic jam back to I-55. Give yourself about 12 extra minutes on North 270. 55 north itself is slow. Weber to Gasconade. 64 eastbound, there's still some heavy traffic approaching Timberlake Manor. They cleared a crash there about 10 minutes ago. 61 southbound at Route W, we have a very bad crash in the median. That traffic is backed up towards the Lincoln County line, and an accident with the right lane blocked Gravois westbound before 270. That one should just about be wrapped up. I'm Joe Sonderman. This report sponsored by Walgreens from the News Talk STL Traffic Center.
Finding the right Medicare plan was no easy feat until I found Walgreens Find RX coverage. Compare plans online, over the phone, or in person, and find plans with low-cost copays. When you need to talk Medicare, Walgreens is here. Start shopping today at walgreens.com/Medicare.
From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
Another chilly start this morning under partly cloudy skies, but mostly sunny as we go through the day, in and out of some clouds, but certainly a warmer day. 69 degrees, a little breeze this afternoon from the southwest at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Overnight lows in the mid-40s, right about where we would be typically this time of year, but the high tomorrow and through the weekend near 80 degrees and dry. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
Oh, Adam, you are so romantic, and I love the kitchen you found with all these great crumbs.
Yeah, baby, only the finest crumbs in the kitchen for my favorite aunt. Oh no, it's the pest control company again with those green wheels. They always kill the mood.
This is Derek, the owner of All Solutions Pest Control. Give us a call today at 636-486-7888. We'd love to help you out. Learn more about our special $67 offer. You can visit us online at allsolutionspestcontrol.com.
If a pest-free home is your goal, call All Solutions Pest Control.
Columbo and Katie.
Their job at this incredibly upscale fancy restaurant in London is to go around to the tables and hand feed grapes to the customers.
I don't even want to be disturbed by a waiter that's filling up my glass every 5 seconds or asking me how I'm doing every 5 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't imagine someone coming over to me and being like, "And a grape for you, my dear."
Tony Columbo, Katie Fitzpatrick. Weekdays at 2 on News Talk STL.
Life insurance is one of those things that just about everybody needs, but few people actually have. Hey, if you die unexpectedly without life insurance, guess what? You'll leave your family with even a bigger mess. Life insurance will help replace your family's income. It'll help cover burial expenses. Life insurance can even help pay off debt like credit cards and medical bills. Life insurance can even pay for college. And if you own a business and you die, life insurance can help your business from collapsing. It can even help cover estate taxes. Life insurance has never been more affordable and needed. Plus, you can always shop around even if you have a plan and save some money. So call the Life Insurance Quote Line right now for free pricing information.
800-979-3060. 800-979-3060. 800-979-3060. That's 800-979-3060.
Whether at home or at work, you're mobile. So when you're mobile, stay mobile. Keep St. Louis's home for conservative talk with you wherever you go. Download the News Talk STL app in the App Store or at NewstalkSTL.com. For podcast articles and more, find us on NewstalkSTL.com.
16, I found my dream machine. Turn the key and every light turned green.
Talk lines are open now at 314-912-1019. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning, made in St. Louis for St. Louis. It's News Talk STL.
Got a bizarre situation in Louisiana, Missouri. So that's Pike County. I mean, from downtown St. Louis, it's about 70 miles. So, from, those listening in our 94.1 signal, probably not that far from Louisiana. And a bizarre situation where the police chief is now in jail charged with drug trafficking.
It's wild.
So
This is a
strange.
wild story.
Yeah, so it's just about 7:40 right now. I'm Mike Ferguson with Gabe Pfeiffer and Ken Williams. Tell you about that in just a minute. We talked about this rainbow fentanyl and the big scare of watch out, the fentanyl dealers are going to try to put deadly fentanyl in your kids' trick-or-treat thing. I still don't know that that's a big scare, but there may be more to this than I gave credit for it. Ted Lindner from Fox News has a story about a big seizure of fentanyl pills in a major airport.
Authorities say the fentanyl pills found Wednesday were disguised inside boxes of Sweet Tarts, Skittles, and Whoppers after an individual attempted to go through airport security. The suspect managed to get away but has been identified. The incident once again prompting law enforcement to encourage parents to be cautious this Halloween about the candy their children bring home, as there have been multiple reports across the country of fentanyl manufactured in rainbow colors or disguised in wrappers. Ted Lindner, Fox News.
Okay, I'm still not convinced that there's a real big threat of fentanyl dealers wanting to kill off trick-or-treaters who were 7 years old. I don't think that's think that's the case. I think this is probably more for smuggling and transportation than anything. But again, fentanyl and drug dealers, especially at the street level, aren't the brightest business people in the world. I'm not saying their inventory controls are going to be on point. So it's always possible that some jerk out there is going to try to do something evil. So, if your kid's candy package looks damaged or not real, just throw it away. Just be that. But I don't think we need to be in a panic over fentanyl rainbow stuff in kids' trick-or-treating bags.
Yeah, really. And the candy itself, it doesn't look like I should say the fentanyl that disguised as candy doesn't actually look like candy on even passing inspection.
Yeah. Okay, bizarre situation in Pike County, Missouri. Now, there's a Pike County, Illinois, just up north of St. Louis, but Pike County, Missouri, where the police chief and his girlfriend are in jail. This is such a bizarre story. And when you look, did you see the pictures? Did you find the pictures of them, Gabe?
Oh, no.
A little bit earlier in the day, you were like, oh, I want to see pictures of that because let's just say that they met this threshold of some stereotypes. And so what happened is 50-year-old William E. Jones, who is the Louisiana, Missouri police chief, his 25-year-old girlfriend, Alexis Thone, have been charged with drug trafficking, among some others. Her two brothers were at his house. I don't know if it was their house or his house. And they OD'd this week. And one of them died. Now, we don't know for certain exactly what kind of drug they were ODing on, but it was some heavy-duty stuff. And so the police chief there, according to the sheriff's department in Pike County, called the non-emergency 911 line, which often is not recorded, in order to report a death. And he's also charged with, among other things, tampering with evidence. And this is a small town, and I bring that up to remind you that this whole drug trafficking thing, this isn't just an urban inner city thing, okay? Rural Missouri is affected by this too.
Yeah, this guy kind of looks like if, I don't know, if Colonel Sanders went on a bender.
Yeah.
maybe, I don't know. That mullet is talking to me.
Oh, yeah.
And his girlfriend looks pretty typical.
I mean, it's like, what's a 25-year-old seeing that 50-year-old? Well, apparently the party scene in whatever party scene there is in Louisiana, Missouri.
Drugs and money.
Drugs and, who knows what kind of money. I shouldn't say this, because I know there are a lot of real nice people who, live in trailers, but I look at this and I'm like, okay, which trailer was this in?
Yeah.
And I know I shouldn't say that because in some parts of the country, that's a perfectly, legitimate place to, or a place to live. And especially in retirement areas. I have some grandparents that tried to retire and live in that. Then they went and bought a house. But I look at that and I'm just thinking, Oh, come on. That was the police chief?
It's straight up typical.
That
it
was
really
the
is.
police chief? Are you kidding me?
Hey, I feel the same way about the projects, man. It's like, there are plenty of good people. I've met really great people who lived in the projects. But when somebody is on an arrest sheet, they got, and there's a report about them, and you find out where they got arrested. It's like, yeah, I get it.
Yeah,
I know, but I know people live in trailers, and they're not even at all like that. There's a person from Louisiana, Missouri on the line here.
All right. Hi, who am I talking to here?
I'm not going to use my name.
Okay, that's fine.
So, this isn't the first time something like that's happened in this town. Like, our town is actually very, very corrupt, and we're actually losing a lot of business over it. They're moving over to Bowling Green, and a lot of good people for it too. I think it was a few years back, maybe 5 or 10 years ago, something similar happened with one of the city commissioners. Except it was his son that was charged with murder for being a drug dealer, and one of his clients, or whatever you want to call him, OD'd, and the police chief covered it up.
In Louisiana?
And yes.
And was this was this the same police chief?
No, it was the previous one. Oh, jeez. And so this is, this is a huge problem in Louisiana. Like, everybody in Pike County knows it, and everybody kind of avoids Louisiana for that reason. And Louisiana is kind of trying to do this whole revitalize thing, but nobody is on board with it because nobody wants to deal with the corruptness of the city hall and everything. Like, it was so bad that probably 6 months ago, basically, the county took over their municipal court.
Wow.
They moved everything up to the county, and when the court opened for the first time, like 3 months after that happened, basically there was like 360 cases over like a 3-month period, and almost all of them were thrown out.
Wow.
Oh, my gosh.
Jeez.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was that bad. I mean, 25 years ago, I used to work over in Bowling Green, and I would hear stories all the time. I was actually on the air at KPCR in Bowling Green, and 94.1, as a matter of fact. And they would, people would come in and talk about that stuff, but we couldn't report on it because we didn't know any facts,
Yeah, I mean, So you got quite a run of the police chiefs out there.
Oh, yeah. It's been most excellent, obviously.
Oh, jeez. All right. Well, ma'am, sorry what your community is going through. We'll keep an eye on it now with a little different perspective on it.
Yeah.
Because if it does drive home the point, this isn't just an urban inner city thing, man. This happens other communities as well.
And
all right.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for being a part of News Talk STL. All right. 314-912-1019. Speaking of police, a woman does not like the fact that she was about to get served an eviction notice and unleashes an unusual weapon on law enforcement.
Really?
Yes. A flying, stinging kind. This is bizarre. What? Oh, yeah. I'll tell you about it at 7:50 right here on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL.
Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Traffic Center.
It has been a bad morning for 270 drivers. Our latest incident is northbound on 270 between Olive and Page. It's a vehicle on fire, fully involved. 2 right lanes are closed, so you have a delay there, but you were already backed up from I-55 to Gravois, where they're working about the 6th accident we've had in that general vicinity. They're still blocking the left lane. So again, slow traffic 55 up to Gravois, and then again Olive to that vehicle fire at Page. Eastbound 64 is pretty busy. Boone's Crossing to Timberlake Manor due to an earlier crash. They are wrapping that up. 61 southbound, look for delays approaching Route W where they're clearing a crash from the median. This report sponsored by Ride Finders, and I'm Joe Sonderman from the News Talk STL Traffic Center.
Don't like sitting in traffic? Do something about it. Register at ridefinders.org and be matched with other commuters who want to save money and the environment by carpooling or van pulling to work. Do the ride thing. Learn more at ridefinders.org.
The Vic Porcelli Show.
Thursday at 9:05, we'll ask Karen Catalan about the statement, if 10,000 Russians crossing the Ukraine border is an invasion, why isn't 2 million people crossing the southern border an invasion?
Weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
Hey, Columbo here for our family dentist, Dr. Matt Boscia at New Creation Dental Care, a one-stop solution for all your family's dental needs, including braces. Dr. Boscia uses the My Forever Smile Braces system, which straightens teeth many times in less than a year for half the price of traditional braces. Traditional braces or Invisalign can cost $6,000 or more, but Dr. Boscia only charges $29.98 for My Forever Smile, and incentives and insurance can lower the price even more, plus New Creation offers in-office financing. Learn more at newcreationdentalcare.com.
Packages start at $29.99 a month with signed agreement. Restrictions apply. Speak to a representative for complete offer details. See Vivint.com for license details. Terms and conditions apply.
Homeowners, if you're looking for the best in home security and smart home technology at a price you can actually afford, we have great news. Now you can get Vivint's award-winning home security systems starting at about $1 a day. U.S. News and World Report has recognized Vivint as the best professionally installed home security system of 2022. And right now, you can get Vivint's home security technology for about $1 a day. Plus, get free professional installation from a licensed technician. Protect your home and loved ones for as low as $1 a day. Call right now for your free home security consultation.
800-561-3405. 800-561-3405. 800-561-3405. That's 800-561-3405.
The midterm election. Decision 22 News.
It's going to put some pressure on all of us to up our game.
Decision 22 Analysis.
A midterm election route.
Decision 22 Opinion.
You're going to enter a problem.
Decision 2022 happens on News Talk STL. We give you news, analysis, opinion, and more. Only on News Talk STL. Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, 99.1 HD3 and newstalkstl.com.
All right, at 8:05, interesting conversation. We hear a lot about equality and equity and the haves and the have-nots, and that's one of the talking points we hear from media and politicians. Well, there's an interesting presentation and conversation that's going to happen tonight. Our friends at the Hammond Institute are putting that on, and it has to do with inequality in our society. Is that actually directly the cause of poverty? Is it the same thing as poverty or not? And so I think it's going to be a really interesting conversation. So the guy who's putting on that presentation is going to be with us at 8:05, so you can get an update on that. That's from the Hammond Institute and the Fraser Institute. And then at 8:35, we've got Aaron Dorr from American Firearms Association. You know, we're talking about everything from abortion to electric vehicles to the economy and gas prices. Don't forget that the left also is actually coming back with a vengeance, trying to get your weapons and do away with your Second Amendment rights. And you're saying, but Mike, that's silly. Because the Supreme Court made it very, very clear that the Second Amendment means what it says. Well, yeah, they did, but two things can be true at the same time. And so Aaron's going to give us an update, not just on the president's effort to ban as many guns as he can, but in Illinois, right here in News Talk STL land. We got Tammy Duckworth running as that being one of her key platform issues is gun control. That's why she's not going to win downstate, but she's going to win enough in Chicago to carry her through to victory.
That's part of the problem.
Man. Now, let's talk about weapons here, though. This is bizarre. In Massachusetts, a woman is facing multiple charges, felony charges, assault, battery, because she was about to be served an eviction notice.
Mm-hmm.
And so the police are showing up to do that. She puts on a protective beekeeper suit and then opens up beehives and releases a swarm of bees on the law enforcement officers.
Not today, Satan.
What?
That's
inside her
wild.
home?
Looks like it was outside the home.
Oh, okay. It's
But,
like, man, inside your home you've got beehives? Oh,
yeah.
God.
So her name is Rory Woods. She's already pled guilty. Not guilty. Excuse me.
You're right. Okay, so she's
grab it.
she's pled not guilty to multiple assault and battery charges from this alleged attack on police, some of whom were allergic to bees.
Yeah, exactly.
That's wild.
So this happened in a county called Hampton County, and the sheriff's deputies went to her home to evict her. They were met with protesters, which I don't know why there'd be protesters. It's an eviction. So she arrived in an SUV towing a trailer carrying her beehives.
Really?
Started shaking the hives, broke the cover off of one, causing hundreds of angry bees to swarm out. and start stinging people. The deputies were right there. She had, like I said, the beekeeper suit to protect herself. She was, obviously arrested on this. 3 of the officers who were stung were allergic to bee stings.
Oh my
on
gosh.
this. And apparently she's quoted as saying in the news article, which is from masslive.com, which is just kind of a Massachusetts state news service. I'm just going to read it. When Woods was told that several officers were allergic to bees, she said, "Oh, you're allergic? Good," according to one news report that was out there. So if anything worse had happened to those officers, she could have been charged with more. But they went to the hospital, and so far it looks like all the officers are going to be all right. But
Well, thank God for
wow,
that, but-
what a bizarre premeditated way to attack. Shaking up a beehive and then knocking off the thing, making sure they're pissed off.
This entire situation sounds even worse than what I was imagining. I thought basically, she was just keeping bees on her property and she just kind of released them. But she drove up to what sounds like a pre-planned protest. And shook the. I mean,
Shook 'em.
Shaking a beehive is that's basically inciting the bees to go to a war footing. So whatever human is near is going to get stung. Whatever animal is near is going to get stung. And she drove up with a truck with bees on a truck bed,
like on a flatbed. Yeah.
So she brought them to the party. This was This was absolutely intentional. And I imagine the people who were protesting there, I guess maybe on her side, got stung too.
I was wondering about that too. I don't know. I mean,
the bees aren't. The bees aren't going to be able to delineate between. Oh no, you're a good guy, but.
Bee lives matter.
Yeah, really.
BLM.
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 So she's being, her offense was that she couldn't afford the rent? Is that what?
She was being evicted.
Oh, being evicted. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I was going to say, it probably costs a lot of money to have all those beehives and the trailer and pull up there,
Yeah. And the thing is that we actually need more beekeeping and beehives.
We do.
need more bees.
We do.
Bees
I'm an
are-
advocate.
Bees are very, very good things, and not just because I love to put honey on my toast. Bees are very good things for the ecosystem.
Yes.
We definitely need them. And but remember, when a bee stings you, it dies.
Right.
It is a full-on suicide mission.
They don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But if they feel as though the hive is in danger, the queen and all the little babies inside are in danger, then they go completely, basically kamikaze on you.
Yeah.
And she forced that. She created that situation.
She intentionally made sure that police officers got stung.
Yes. And she wanted some to go into anaphylactic shock. That's what that statement after was. When she says, "Oh, you're allergic, good."
So which could mean death.
Yeah.
I mean.
Oh yeah, in extreme cases, without a doubt. Yeah, I know some people who are absolutely, and I say this with the proper context of the words, deathly allergic to bee stings.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I know a couple of people. I mean, they carry around EpiPens.
Right.
Just in case something were to happen and they were to be stung. But she's 55 years old. My hope is that this is something that she actually ends up doing time for. You've got this kind of disregard, not just for any lies, but particularly, I mean, listen, the sheriff's office, they don't want to deal with evictions, okay?
No.
An eviction is a long process where it takes months to evict somebody.
You don't gotta tell me
It's a lot
twice.
of money. Yeah, you were a landlord.
Yeah.
I've worked I used to have a part-time job leasing apartments. Nobody wants to go through an eviction. Nobody wants to do that. It is expensive. It is just a pain in the butt. But it's not the sheriff officer's fault who are walking up, and what happens is they say, "No, it's moving day." And if your stuff isn't out, they've got a bunch of trash bags and they just throw it all in and they set it out on the curb. This is absolutely not what sheriff's officers want to do.
Well, if she pulled out a gun to shoot somebody, it's kind of the same thing. No, they didn't get shot, they didn't get killed, but they were stung. So would she go to jail for that?
Total
I think
disregard
she would.
for human life.
Yeah,
Right.
she weaponized stinging insects.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Which tells me she probably knows a thing or two about beekeeping. She's probably kind of an expert.
Mm-hmm.
If she was able to weaponize it.
I'd like to know why she was being evicted.
Oh, man. So
Non-payment of rent.
Yeah.
That's pretty much the only reason we want to go through that process.
Man. All right, 8:05. Inequality. What do we do about it? We'll talk about that in just a minute.
Is your portfolio positioned for the biggest risks facing investors today? Hi, I'm Bob Stockdale, Senior Vice President Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money Saturday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL 1019. We have experienced tremendous economic changes in the last year. Today, historically low interest rates and spiking inflation present new risks and opportunities for investors. If you haven't made changes to your investments in the last year, it's time for a portfolio review. With 100 years of combined experience, our team can help you prepare for the risks relevant to today's investors. Contact the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel to request a free portfolio review at clearpathinvesting.com or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member NYSE and SIPC.
Hi, I'm Rodney Wallner.
And I'm Jen Wallner with the Wallner Home Selling Team at Berkshire Hathaway.
Hey, Jen, how do you sell your home for top dollar?
That's easy. Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
What if I want a flexible commission plan?
Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
What's the best time to sell your home?
Right now, call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
For all your real estate needs, call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
That's 314-810-SOLD.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Belfast, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at NewstalkSTL.com.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm Greg Clugston in Washington. In a stunning development, British Prime Minister Liz Truss has announced her resignation.
I cannot deliver the mandate on which I was elected by the Conservative Party. I have therefore spoken to His Majesty the King to notify him that I am resigning as leader of the Conservative Party.
Truss has only been in office about 6 weeks, but her economic policies triggered an economic crisis and sparked political upheaval. Speaking a short time ago outside 10 Downing Street, Truss said that she will remain prime minister until a successor is chosen. Conservatives say President Biden's decision to tap America's oil stockpile is politically motivated. The Heritage Foundation calls the approach a Band-Aid that's not focused on the root problems. The president said gas prices are still too high. He insisted that releasing 15 million more barrels of oil from the strategic reserve is not tied to the upcoming midterm elections. Florida residents still dealing with the cleanup from Hurricane Ian have one more thing to be on guard against: flesh-eating bacteria.
Florida's Department of Health says there's been an increase in reports of flesh-eating bacteria this year. 65 cases and 11 deaths from Vibrio vulnificus infections, up from 34 cases and 10 deaths for all of last year. And it's been largely driven by a surge in Lee County, where Hurricane Ian came ashore last month. The health department reports 29 cases and 4 deaths there this year. I'm Ben Thomas.
President Biden preparing to visit Pittsburgh's Fern Hollow Bridge later this afternoon. It's being rebuilt after collapsing earlier this year. That bridge collapse occurred just before Mr. Biden was scheduled to visit the city back in January. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Relief Factor, pain relief that's natural, pain relief that works, and pain relief that attacks the source of the pain. That's the experience of tens of thousands of Americans who are taking Relief Factor right now. See their incredible video endorsements at relieffactor.com and then order your 3-week quick starter pack for just $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. Find out if it can work for you like it works for me by ordering your 3-week quick starter pack today. Relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com. Be the next success story.
Hi, my name's Adam Barada. I'm the owner of Advantage Gold, the highest rated precious metals firm in the country. Now, we've won the Best of TrustLink award 4 years in a row because we educate our clients on how to buy gold and silver the right way. We don't pay celebrity spokespeople millions of dollars. We'd rather pass that value on to you. Call 800-900-8000 and speak with one of our experts. We'll send you a free gold kit along with my latest national best-selling book, The Great Devaluation. Call 800-900-8000. Call 800-900-8000.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Traffic Center.
It continues to be extremely busy for 270 drivers. Northbound at Gravois, they're clearing a crash from the two left lanes. You are jammed back to I-55, a 25-minute delay. Once you clear that, more slow traffic approaching Olive up through Page. They're clearing a vehicle fire with the two right lanes closed. That was slowing southbound 270, by the way, as you came down towards Page. 64 eastbound is very heavy and slow. Boone's Crossing to Timberlake Manor due to an earlier crash. We've got one backing up traffic, 141 northbound at Carmen. 61 southbound about the Lincoln-St. Charles County line down to Route W is heavy and slow. That's due to an earlier bad crash. Just a lot of volume all around the area this morning. I'm Joe Sonderman. This report sponsored by Blindster. For new blinds or shades, Blindster.com ships directly to you at prices less than the big box retailers. Blindster blinds are easy to install. They're guaranteed to fit. Don't overpay for new blinds. Go to Blindster.com. That's the latest from the News Talk STL Traffic Center.
From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
Another chilly start this morning under partly cloudy skies, but mostly sunny as we go through the day, in and out of some clouds, but certainly a warmer day. 69 degrees, a little breeze this afternoon from the southwest at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Overnight lows in the mid-40s, right about where we would be typically this time of year, but the high tomorrow and through the weekend near 80 degrees and dry. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by All Solutions Pest Control, 636-486-7888, or visit them at allsolutionspestcontrol.com.
If a pest-free home is your goal, call All Solutions Pest Control.
Hi, this is State Representative Jim Murphy. Rising prices, crime, government overreach. These are issues on the minds of St. Louisans. As your state rep, I share your concerns. I filed legislation that reins in out-of-control bureaucrats, puts an end to gangs pilfering through our cars, and gets stolen guns off the streets. I have voted against out-of-control spending and voted for the biggest tax cut in Missouri history. I ask for your support in November as this work has just begun. Vote Jim Murphy, your state rep.
Paid for by Citizens for Murphy. Mary L. Murphy, Treasurer.
Speaker Tim Jones here. Have you heard about the brand new best St. Louis sports bar and grill experience in the region? Johnny's Hideout in High Ridge, Missouri. 10 minutes from 270 and Gravois. 30 TVs, a huge game room, a great outdoor patio. The Sunset Patio, complete with the Sunset Stage and the train station bar. Open 6 days a week, serving lunch and dinner, featuring famous Johnny Dow's Chicken Wings and the best barbecue in town. When you're there, check out the VIP Speaker of the House table on your next visit. On the web, jhideout.com. That's Johnny's Hideout in High Ridge.
St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
What citizen wouldn't want to make America great again?
Live and local.
And their leadership has been substandard.
I think the word substandard is immensely polite.
This is News Talk STL. Mike Ferguson.
Are you pretending to be crazy? Wow, you're really pumped about this.
Gabe Pfeiffer. Get up, St. Louis.
The best answer to the toxicity of the left is the truth.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
At a lot of political rallies, you're going to hear some candidates, you're going to hear some activists railing about inequality in our society. And inequality absolutely exists in our society. It absolutely happens. Okay, but it's not just some bullet points. It's not just a one-size-fits-all. Let's have a political bill, and that's going to take care of it all. What is it actually? How does it affect our lives? What do we do, if anything, about it? Or are there market-based approaches outside of politics? Well, those are probably going to be some of the questions and some of the discussion tonight at a special event that's being hosted by our friends at the Hammond Institute for Free Enterprise over at Lindenwood University. The Langenberg Memorial Speaker Series is going to be happening at Le Meridian, St. Louis. That's in Clayton, and you can learn more at hammondinstitute.com. The Fraser Institute's Jason Clemens is going to be talking about inequality in our society, and he joins us right now. And Jason, welcome to the program. Appreciate you being on. Inequality, just kind of a, that's kind of a buzzword that gets people fired up, particularly in politics. When you're talking about inequality and you say it's complicated, set the stage for what this actually is you're going to be talking about.
Sure, thank you. I think there's really two critically important points when we think about inequality. The first is not to confuse poverty with inequality. And I think, unfortunately, the more pressing issue for my own country, Canada, but certainly for the U.S. as well, is that we should be talking about poverty rather than inequality. But then the second critical question is, how are we measuring inequality? And, in doing a scan over the last month before coming down to give a talk here, the same problem exists in the United States that exists in Canada, which is most of the advocates for large-scale government intervention to deal with this asserted problem of inequality ignore what the government is already doing to ameliorate inequality. And the way they do that is by measuring income before government transfers are included. And so you really get a distorted picture of the current state of equality by ignoring what governments are already actively doing.
Good morning, Jason. Gabe Pfeiffer here. Is inequality even a good measure to take for the health of an electorate or health of an economy?
I think that's a great question. I think, again, there's two aspects to it. One is when we look at the top 10% or the top 1%, one of the questions we need to ask is, how are those individuals or families earning their income? And, if we just take a couple different situations, if it's Steve Jobs who accumulated his wealth and generated income by providing products that citizens were willing to purchase, that's a very different kind of inequality than, say, Baby Doc when he was the dictator in Haiti, who was essentially stealing money from poor people. Or if you have people who are getting income because they've gotten a special privilege from government, whether it's a monopoly or special trading rights. And so the first question is, well, are those people operating in a market where they have to deliver a good or service that people can freely purchase, or are they getting special treatment? The second question is what I just spoke about, which is, how are we measuring inequality? And just hand over fist, more and more time that I see people talking about inequality, they're really using the wrong measures. And so they're exaggerating the state of inequality. And again, unfortunately, they're ignoring the more important issue, which is poverty.
When we talk about the word inequality, Jason, we've got people who basically are looking at outcomes. You have more stuff than I have, therefore that's bad. Is that part of the conversation as well?
Certainly. I mean, one of the interesting survey results when you look at most Western countries is that people who tend to vote for left-of-center governments, one of their driving values is equality. Now, one of the mistakes I think they make, and again, this goes back to how we measure inequality, is they ignore the age of the people we're talking about. And so one of the things I often ask people in debates is, do you think someone who's 25, who's just starting out in their career, no matter what the career is, should be making the same amount of money as someone in the same industry who's 55 and who has 30 years of work experience? Now, their immediate answer is, well, of course not. And I said, well, but then you're accepting some level of inequality based on age, experience, skill. And so, again, the real challenge, and it is a challenge, is that most people tend to oversimplify inequality. And it is a very complicated, complex dynamic in our American, Canadian societies. And so I actually think this is one of the hurdles to having just a genuine conversation, which is we're oversimplifying it.
Now, it may be just me, but it seems as though we transitioned somewhere along the way from discussing issues of poverty, and we've kind of replaced those with discussing issues of inequality. Do you get that same feeling? Did you notice that, or is it just me? And if so, if there was a transition there, where do you think that came from?
Absolutely. There's no doubt that in the last 30 years, we are speaking less and less about poverty, and this would be particularly true in the last decade. And we are talking more and more about inequality, and they're just fundamentally not the same thing. In fact, I looked at some research in the United States. Americans are spending an extraordinary amount of money, and it's being sold as, poverty relief. When you dig into those numbers, very little of it is actually poverty relief. Most of it is to try to deal with, again, what I think is an asserted problem of inequality. And so fundamentally, you're not getting at why do we see about 4% of the U.S. population stuck in poverty? which again is just a fundamentally different question than how much does the bottom 20% make versus the top 20%. Absolutely, this is a problem in Canada and the United States.
There's obviously a difference between equality and equity, and if you could just kind of briefly address the difference, because I think a lot of people conflate those. But if the goal in the end by some, on the left to make everybody equal, you can't do that without bringing some people down and taking away from them, or is there another way?
No, it's an important point. In fact, if your ultimate goal is the equality of outcomes, what we have to recognize is that means constant government interventions, and that's not annual intervention. Those are constant interventions to take wealth and income away from certain groups and give it to others. And I mean, one of the ironies again is if you just think of age, much of what would happen when you think about either income inequality or wealth inequality is that you would simply be taking from older people to give it to younger people. And when those younger people are older people, you're taking it away from them. And so the question then is, but what incentives does that create for actually people to do better, to invest in a business, to be entrepreneurial? And that whole question of incentives tends to be, in my view, tends to be ignored. And then again, unfortunately, if we're talking about equality of outcome, we're fundamentally just missing, or even worse, ignoring this question of poverty, which I think is the more important and frankly more interesting question.
All right, the event happens tonight in Clayton. It's called Inequality Isn't Poverty, and it's complicated. Our friends at the Hammond Institute for Free Enterprise are putting that on. There is going to be a Q&A session, so they can throw anything they want at you, right, Jason?
That's right, yes.
You can learn more at hammondinstitute.org. Doors open at 5:30. Programs begin at 6. It ends at 7:30, and then you got an hour to get boozy because there's a cocktail hour after that. So you can check that out. It's happening at Le Meridian in Clayton, but hammondinstitute.org. Interesting stuff. Jason from the Fraser Institute, thank you so much.
Thank you. My pleasure.
314-912-1019. Once again, hammondinstitute.org. I love when they do the Q&A sessions because there's going to be somebody there who disagrees with him, and that gets really, really interesting and thought-provoking. All right, got some thoughts on it? Let's talk. 314-912-1019.
Get up, can't you hear the alarm? Get up, this is your cousin car. Get up, what are you waiting for? Get up.
Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. Made in St. Louis, for St. Louis. It's News Talk STL.
You want to give me more information?
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Traffic Center.
Just a crazy morning on the roadways. Fortunately, things are beginning to clear up. We had 2 incidents recently on 270 that have both cleared. One was a vehicle fire at Page. The other one was a crash at Gravois. However, you're still backed up from 55 up to Gravois, and then again approaching Page from Olive. That's on northbound 270. On 270 westbound, we're slow Old Halls Ferry to West Florissant. The eastbound side is slow at Lindbergh. On 55 northbound, we're still pretty heavy. Weber up to 4500 South Broadway. Northbound 141, some pretty major delays near Big Bend up to Carmen. They're clearing a crash from the right-hand lane. This report sponsored by Blindster. For new blinds or shades, it's Blindster.com. Custom-made blinds, shades, and shutters shipped right to you at prices less than the big box retailers. Blindster blinds are easy to install. They're guaranteed to fit, too. Don't overpay for new blinds. Shop Blindster.com. I'm Joe Sonderman with the very latest from the News Talk STL Traffic Center.
Are you tired of hard chlorinated water drying your skin out, tasting bad, and ruining your fixtures? Jones Air and Water Treatment has a solution to this pollution. Our Hydratech H2O leaves you with great tasting, soft water at all fixtures in your home with one unit. Call Jones Air and Water at 636-899-1040 or visit us on the web at joneswater.com. You can be a filter or buy a filter. Jones Air and Water, 636-899-1040 or joneswater.com on the web. Call us now.
Stay top of mind with your customers, stand out from the competition, and drive productivity with a podcast for your business from Epic STL Podcasts. Log on to newstalkstl.com and click on the Epic STL Podcast button to learn more.
The Vic Porcelli Show.
I am a election denier because I don't think that 2020 was a free and fair election. And I get crap for that. But Stacey Abrams, the question was, worded just like that. Was 2018 a free and fair election? She said no.
Right.
Why does she get to say it, but we don't get to say it?
Because you're not a Democrat.
I don't want to be one of those.
No, I don't either, Vic.
Vic Porcelli, weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness 101. Wellness 101 is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense, science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on News Talk STL. For more information, visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
What if everything you thought and believed to be true about owning and buying your home turned out to be wrong?
Straightforward, objective advice on the right way to make the most out of every dollar you put into your home.
We're the only country that has one of those. Most other countries, considering like Canada, the UK, they don't have long-term fixed-rate mortgages like that. They're all variable-rate mortgages.
HomeWise with Michael Midget, Sunday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
Fox News commentary.
Our illustrious president read something incorrectly on his teleprompter again. Let's play another round of Words with Joe next.
On 9/11, our nation made a commitment to never forget. Since then, it's been the Tunnel to Towers Foundation honoring those words with action. So many people gave their lives while saving others on 9/11. Tunnel to Towers carries forward that legacy of courage and heroism by honoring our country's military and first responder heroes, people who are willing to die for you and me. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at t2t.org. That's T2T.org.
Our President Joe Biden delivered a speech, and I use the term speech loosely, on how to report student loan forgiveness fraud, and surprise, surprise, he messed it up. He told people to report to the government-run fraud website, which is reportfraud.ftc.gov, but instead of saying dot like a normal person, he proceeded to say D-O-T. Come on, man, you're killing us here. This is how oblivious Joe is with a teleprompter. Can you imagine him without one? Well, actually, we can, because just the other day, while licking an ice cream cone in Portland, unscripted and unprompted Joe told reporters our economy is strong as hell. Strong as hell. 40-year high inflation over 8%, skyrocketing gas prices, a worker shortage, and ongoing supply chain crisis is Joe's definition of strong as hell. Boy, I sure hope we don't see the day Joe has to admit the economy is in the crapper. I swear we are being punked because this all feels like a giant and very cruel joke. I'm Tommy Lahren, and you can listen to all of my hot takes at foxnewscommentary.com.
Subscribe and watch your favorite News Talk STL shows.
Mike Ferguson in the morning, The Vic Porcelli Show, Columbo and Katie, Jones and Arps.
Webcam streaming on Facebook, Twitter, Rumble.
Subscribe and watch
News Talk STL. Talk lines are open now at 314-912-1019. This is Mike Ferguson in the morning. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, 99.1 HD3 and newstalkstl.com.
I forgot to mention one thing about that presentation tonight with Jason Clemens from the Hammond Institute is that if you can't make it to Clayton tonight, that's actually going to be live streamed, it looks like. So go to hammondinstitute.org for more information on that. But it's more fun if you go out in person to Les Meridian in Clayton. So check that out there, hammondinstitute.org. It is 8:22. Got to look at several of the news stories that are kind of going through the headlines right now. We'll get to that in about a minute and a half. Got Mike on the line right now. Hey, Mike, you heard the conversation about inequality. What's your take on it?
Hey, Mike. There were a couple things came to mind, and I caught the last few minutes of his interview. One was around the absolute constant interventions to achieve so-called equity. But I think what's left out of that is that the political left loves this whole idea of redistribution until it happens naturally via, generally people moving and denying a tax base to those who overspend. What they really like about redistribution is the fact that they're the ones doing the distributing. So remember that they get to take a cut in all of these constant redistributions to achieve so-called equity.
Yeah, absolutely. Before you finish there, let me just point out that you said the natural redistribution, and that's a really important aspect of this. A centrally planned one is destined to fail, but a market-based natural one based on what people are offering, because as I mentioned, it's been a little while in the show, but I said when you look at true free markets, people benefit because exchanges are based on mutual benefiting outcomes of it, and that's a good natural redistribution of wealth because I'm giving you my money and I'm giving myself a product that I want, need, or I'm going to use as an investment into something else. So the natural redistribution is a very good thing. I think it's a really good point, Mike.
Yeah, and one thing before I go, Bella here on her way to Classical Academy to Lafayette wants to say hi. Say hi to Mike Ferguson.
Hi. Hey, how are you doing? Hey, glad the Classical Academy de Lafayette. I've been out there and visited. You got a great school out there, guys. Have a great day.
Yep, thanks. You too, Mike.
You got it. Thank you so much. Yeah, that's the way education should be presented out there, challenging kids with the big ideas, and instead of dumbing it down the way that the one-size-fits-all process actually looks like.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's look at what's happening. Some news here. This is bizarre. Small-town police chief in Missouri now charged with drug trafficking after 2 people overdosed in his home. We've actually heard from somebody from Louisiana, Missouri a little bit earlier today. The 50-year-old police chief out there, his name is William Jones, and his 25-year-old girlfriend, Alexis Thone, they were charged with drug trafficking, among some other charges, after 2 people overdosed in his home this week. Both of them are her brothers, but one of them actually died. So both the police chief and his girlfriend are in jail right now. So we're going to keep an eye on that story for you. Also on the national scale right now, the president says, no, it's not political, but President Biden releasing more oil from these strategic reserves. And of course, he says that's a bid to try to keep gas prices from spiking again. Yeah, good luck with that. We've got the report on it right now from Fox News' Jared Halpern.
Gas prices are lower than the June high, but not falling fast enough, President Biden says.
Families are hurting. You've heard me say it before, but I get it.
The president is releasing 15 million barrels from the U.S. Strategic Petroleum Reserve and could consider more drawdowns this winter if that's needed.
That drawdowns from the reserve so far have played a big role in bringing down oil prices, bringing them down.
President Biden says the decision is not political or tied to next month's midterm elections, noting the 180 million barrels authorized for release since the spring. At the White House, Jared Halpern, Fox News.
I'm sure.
Yeah, so we're